Looks like I didn't put the intro up anyway, so that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm just gonna jump right into it because apparently I don't know what I'm doing today. So welcome everybody to the next episode, the current episode of Let's Set the Tone. Look how I'm off my kilter because I didn't even put on my I don't even know what's going on here. Now my studio's acting weird. But hey, this is how we do it around here. As everybody knows, and I'm pretty honest about bringing it up, is half the time I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So and that's kind of where we're at right now because now I don't have any controls that I need or nothing. So welcome back. It's a Saturday. It's a cold Saturday as always because here in the north this is what we deal with, which is a lot of dumb cold, and hopefully spring is going to be coming here real soon. But as far as things have been going on here around the way as it is, last week I had the roommates in town again for the amazing kickoff of the Winter Olympics. As always, when Olympics happens, you've heard me say, I do an opening weekend. The boys come into town, we hang around, we get hammered, and we eat good food. And most definitely can tell you right now that that was definitely the case last weekend, to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to probably take it a little bit easier on the drinks this weekend because I was drinking Brass Monkeys last weekend. And there's two different Brass Monkeys. There's the original cocktail back from like the 60s, 70s, which was typically, I think, vodka, some other liqueur, and maybe OJ as well. And then, of course, in the late 80s was repopularized by Beastie Boys in that kind of area and that kind of part of the world with OJ and a malt liquor, which is where I come in because I love malt liquor. So yes, I am somebody at my age that still buys 40s and still enjoys them and love the delicious flavor of malts. So it was a good time to have the gang in last weekend. It's always short lived. It was real fun, and now the entire week, all I've been doing is honestly been watching a lot of Olympics. So though I haven't checked the Olympic medal count recently, so wasn't looking too good early in the week. But either way, I digress. That's what's been going on around here. Just getting ready for the World Makers Consortium joust competition here. I'm almost done. Hopefully, the next week or two, I will be finished with that. So, but that being said, of course, I see all the chat out here. Appreciate you guys popping in here. I'm gonna bring on the guest here, and without further ado, of course, the one and only Big Daddy Drybrush, Famine. Welcome, my good friend. Welcome. Good to see you.
What's going on, Tone? I'm excited to be here. Very excited.
Listen. I always say it, like, it's always great. I love having guests on here. Clearly, it's everybody's a special guest to me, but everybody is exciting for me for a lot of different reasons, and there's some great reasons for you as well too. Very honestly, so
yeah, I mean, under this table, I'm visibly erect. So
listen, I have to literally keep a pillow on my lap, otherwise I'm gonna put a hole through my table. So.
I like wearing. I've worn a little cavity underneath, so it fits nicely. It's just snug gently against it.
Right.
Every once in a while, a little Vaseline after I Clorox it. It's good to go. And I just want everybody to know it's going to be that kind of show, unfiltered. Yes. Tone didn't give me any guidelines. He said topless if I wanted to.
Yes.
I thought I'd dress a little slutty. As we go on, I might undo another button. It depends.
Right. If there's one thing I really appreciate around here, it's not having any rules. So we don't do that around here. We thrive in chaos. And of course we've got some of the greats out here. We got Audi out here. Welcome, my dude. Of course we got Chan Tony. Good to see you. What's happening? Appreciate you being here.
It's so funny. Everybody calls him Chan Tony.
I don't know. I'm just going. I don't even know.
It's CH Anthony, but Dom one day, like Dom full knowing he's talked to him. He's they've communicated. They're friends. We're pals. He for whatever reason was just reading names on toy domination. It was like, oh, Chantony is here, and Chantony it was Chantony. That's what it was.
Chantony
stuck with me, and man, it cracks me up every time.
Chantony. Okay.
And if there's something about me, is I will needle a little bit. I could take it, but I will needle a little bit. And man, I fucking latched onto that Chantony thing. Like, it's so good.
It's fucking great. That's fucking great. Good to see you, Foo. As well, of course. Jay, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Abby.
Ho.
Jay Ho. Also a big wrestling fan, too, by the way. Jay Ho was a big, his favorite wrestler is Raven. It's one of his all-time favorite
That's
wrestlers.
that is a choice. Yeah.
It's a it's a choice. It is a choice. Mudhorn, what's happening? Good to see everybody. We really appreciate it. As always, we'll try to keep up with the chat best we can. Yes, right, Big Daddy Drybrush. It definitely is a great AKA. So, do you have any other nicknames by chance that you go by as well too?
Jesus Christ, you're looking at it. Famine. That name came about that I'm having my government switch to the name that you see on the screen. From I would say I was 14 or 15 years old on a forum, and then just from there, I stuck with it. I used it as my handle everywhere.
Yeah,
Now, when people see me in public, more people Famine, what's up? Hey, Famine, blah blah blah, and to the point where the only time I hear my government name is when somebody's purchasing a book and they want an autograph, or my
yeah.
job. And even at my job now, a lot of my coworkers refer to me as my preferred name of Famine, and that's how I roll.
Where where did that come from? What was like? How'd you come about
we
on that?
we jokingly took over, and I say took over in quotes, NWO style, a toy collecting forum ages ago,
Okay.
and we did the Four Horsemen. And the joke was from my friend Andy Gort, what's up if you're watching, was that I'm a big boy, and so I caused the famine by eating everything. I thought it was fucking hilarious because it is. It's like you
Yeah,
always see famine depicted as this starving skeletal fucking thing, but then you have death, also a skeleton. It never made sense to me, and I'm like, greed, like you're taking everything away. It made
yeah.
sense, so it was hilarious to me, and it's stuck. And then it's just become a name, and now people approach me, hey, Famine, what's up? Blah blah blah, Fammy Fam. My friends and everything like that. That's the name.
That's awesome.
Other names, other nicknames. Um, Jesus Christ, I mean, the best I ever had. That's one that people refer to me as.
Okay. So you're a
Uh,
snack, is what you're saying.
Yeah, most likely to appear on Let's Set the Tone. That was back in high school. That one's hey ringing true. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
these nicknames they stick around.
That's fucking fucking awesome. So how did kind of go with that, like with your like logo and everything? Where did the jackalope come in?
Um, I love cryptids.
Oh,
I love cryptids. I love weird stuff. And when I was a kid, my grandfather had convinced me the jackalopes were real. I'm still not convinced that jackalopes are not real.
right, right,
I've
right,
seen enough taxidermy to know. Um, but it was one of those cryptids that like no one had latched onto, right? And
right.
I could have easily done dinosaurs because I love dinosaurs. Could have done T-Rex skull, Velociraptor,
Mm,
Triceratops. Love that's my favorite fucking dinosaur. Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus. They just back and forth. But no one had like really grabbed onto the jackalope. It was always Mothman or Bigfoot or people from Pennsylvania love the squanch, and I was just like, man, I want a jackalope. It's great. That's me. I'm fucking elusive. I'm weird. I'm like people when they see me, they're
yeah,
like, jackalope. And not for nothing, but back when America's Funniest Home Videos was on, and then right after was whatever Dave Coulier's
yeah.
show was. I
He
can
had the
never remember.
jackalope.
He had that jackalope as like the gag in between
Hmm.
sets, and so it always stuck with me. And I was like, well, man, I want a jackalope that looks like me. So I reached out to Cato Rodriguez. He's a gentleman who has designed a bunch of AEW wrestling shirts, a bunch of indie shirts. And I said, Cato, here's what I've come up with in Canva, using clip art. I was like, can you please correct this? I'm going to pay you money. I want this for merchandising, shirts, and everything. And Cato came up with the logo that you see. And then
That's
I
awesome.
reached out to our friend District 3 for the Rusty Jackalope, which is my in world sci fi, everything I do company. And he created that design logo for me and made the jackalope with the bandana and the nose ring. And yeah, that's what's that.
That's pretty awesome. It's very I feel like in the community, it's one of those ones to me, like it's very recognizable, very iconic. It's not like a lot of other ones, right? So no, that's awesome. I guess there is one other nickname I've heard recently for you. Apparently your rap name used to be Sugar Beats. Is that
Yes, yes.
okay?
Sugar
Okay.
Beats.
Sugar Beats.
A lot of old school influence on that, and just Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five,
There you go. Love
Houdini.
it. Yeah.
You know,
Classics.
yeah.
Classics. Before we get to like full into some of these questions here, I think there's an important question that I probably should be asking more people often, but are you a Pepsi or a Coke guy?
If I have to,
Yeah.
Diet Pepsi.
Okay. Okay.
And there's a strictly nostalgia reason. The area that I live in around Albany, New York, we have like I think it's rated as the highest capita per capita of drive-in movie theaters.
Mm,
Love a drive-in movie theater. My fondest memories are going to see my favorite movies at drive-ins, and the one here always served the Pepsi in the wax cups. And I always got the Diet Pepsi because there was no sugar, so I could like load up on fucking candy and all these other things.
right.
And just I have such a fondness for Diet Pepsi now because of that experience. And you go to the drive-ins around here, except for the one in Greenville, the Highway Drive-In. They are all New York products, so they don't have Coke or Pepsi or anything like that. It's
That's
all
cool though.
locally purchased sodas. But otherwise, they all seem to have Pepsi products, and
Mm,
it's like a straight nostalgia thing for me. But if I'm drinking soda or pop, if you're wrong, I'm having a Dr. Pepper Zero.
yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Dr. Peppy Zero. I don't. I like. I've got a normal Pepsi right now. That's just because everybody was up last weekend, and a lot of us are actually Pepsi drinkers. But Pepsi Zeros, a lot of these zero sodas are awesome. Like I actually love them. I've just tried. I've recently weaned myself off of those because, like you said, all the sugar and they're awful for you either way. But I like Coke. I mean, I like them both. But if I get a preference, I grew up on Pepsi. So we're in the north here, so we drink Pepsi. So that's the way it needs to be. So
Well, upstate New York is a former business owner. I had a sandwich shop, and I learned a lot that there are like territorial zones of vending. And my business had a line through the building, a fictional line through the building where one vendor was only allowed to sell certain products and the other vendors couldn't sell, but on that
mm,
side they could sell other products, and it was the weirdest goddamn thing.
mhm.
So the cola wars, Billy Joel sings about them. The shit was real.
That's right. The rock and roll cola wars. I can't take it anymore, anyways. But
We didn't start the fire.
no, we did not. We did not. It's always been burning since the world's been turning. So for you, so have you always lived in upstate New York? Is that where you kind of grew up? Is that kind of
um
more rurally, or what did that look like for you?
Primarily, the largest portion of my life has been upstate New York. I have lived in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
Texas, a very brief stint in Massachusetts for like weeks. It was, here and there. Hey, we're moving there. No, we're moving back. Hey, we're moving there. No, we're moving
Mm,
back. Just a lot of random moving around, but the majority of time spent has always been here in upstate New York, just below Albany. So it's like in between the Great Adirondack Park, where you see when, the last of the, or excuse me, not the last of the Mohegans. Yes, the last of the Mohegans was supposed to be the Catskill Mountains, that whole region
mm-hmm.
versus New York City. We're kind of like in the center of that. So
Right.
lived here, spent so much time in Saratoga, Albany, the town I live in, Ravenna. It's in the book that I sell, so I'm not doxing myself. Honestly, if you're gonna come by, fucking knock and be polite. I
Right. At least be
either
nice.
neither here nor there. But like I've spent so much time around here. But yeah, primarily upstate New York, but with a couple of like year-long stints in other places, and then a few weeks in Massachusetts for whatever
Mm,
reason.
okay. Okay. So now for you, was that more like, because I don't, of course I don't know a lot of the areas, but is it more like town-esque or city-esque or like kind of ruralish, a little mix of everything?
It's a town. I live in a village within a town,
Okay, a village, okay, in a town.
within a hamlet. Up the hill, we do have a holler, so
Mm-hmm.
it's that situation, and like we're 15 minutes max away from the state capital, which is a city,
Mm-hmm.
skyscrapers and all. So when people in town are like, "Yeah, we're from the country," and I'm like, "I don't think you are. I don't think you know what that means. Where did the southern accent come from? Your family's lived here for 2 generations. You're putting on pretend."
Right.
But I digress. But yeah,
Right.
it's a town village. There's parks, there's a park pool, they have a little festival, there's a post office, there's a main street, there's
Mm-hmm.
hair salons and things like that. It's a factory town. There's a concrete plant across from the high school that's been polluting the area for generations. It's really part of what makes us unique.
Right. Right.
There's quite literally concrete in our blood and concrete in our water, so we're strong people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not so rural as people would have you think. You know, if I can drive to see a movie in IMAX in 15 minutes on good traffic, not rural.
Not yet. You're right. That's not very rural. Okay. Awesome. Okay. And so for you, growing up in going to school, things of nature, were you a good kid, or did you get in trouble? Like, how did that work out?
80/20. I was a good student when I wanted to be,
Mm,
when I was interested. If a teacher could make something interesting to me, I would be the best student they had.
mm,
Um, I was always a reader, so when they'd assign me a book, I would finish it the first day, which would cause problems, because then I'd be bored in class like this, waiting for, bless him, the slow kid.
sure.
You know, the point of the Sega saga, I couldn't sit through that, and that's on me, right? You know,
Mm,
so I would lose interest in a lot. I didn't really start getting in any trouble in school until high school, and that was primarily acting out, but also like starting to learn that I had agency over
mm.
myself, and if I thought something was unjust or wrong or rude or not fair to other students, I would kind of push boundaries and see what I could get away with. And I had a couple of detentions, and I did the thing.
Yeah. What was some of the stuff that you got your attention for?
I got detention for breaking up a fight and helping a teacher. I actually almost got arrested for that. Like quite literally, police officers were set to bring me into the principal's office to read me my Miranda rights because I pulled somebody who was attacking a teacher in a fight off of the teacher. And the school was like, nope, you were involved in the fight. And I was like, I promise you he was going to kill the teacher. There was
Right.
broken glass it was a whole thing. Got in trouble for that. Got threatened with detention that they later revoked because somebody wrote a bomb threat on a desk with a substitute teacher while we were in class, and none of us knew about it. And the teacher was like, "You're going to write a 17-page paper overnight on the assassination of JFK and blah blah blah." And I wrote a one shot of like how somebody robs a bank and you don't know the bank robbers, and the police interview you. They don't throw you in jail for being present when the bank robbery happened. And the
Right.
teacher swore up, down, and backwards they were going to give me detention. That got waived. I did fuck around a little bit. We got detention for playing quarters, not the coin into the cup game,
Right.
but the one where you put the quarter on the table and do the thing across and you hit your knuckles.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
they decided bloodborne pathogens were a very dangerous thing, even though they weren't a thing because none of us had bloodborne pathogens. In fact, some of us were athletes, and well, a lot of my friends were wrestlers, so they had to get the blood test done in order to wrestle because you can't bleed all over other wrestlers and things like that. So just
Right.
stuff like that. Missing school because I had a job when I was 15. I worked retail, and they broke a lot of labor laws. They would have me leave school and come to work. Got detention for that. So
Where were you working at that time then? At
it was
15?
Family Dollar.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah, it was very poorly managed and poorly run by some very bad people that were locally in the news for horrible shit. So I don't feel too bad for that.
You made a little money off them at least. So yeah. Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was
What was?
back when minimum wage was like 5.25.
Oh God.
Yeah,
That would have been circa what year would that be? Trying to think.
2022 was when I was 15, so right around then.
2020. Wait, what? You saying like wait, what would you 20?
Or 2002. My
I
apologies.
was like, well, I thought that's what you meant, but I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Wait a second. I was
I
like,
don't I don't know how to do math.
I'm not clear. So
Remember
speaking of which, yeah,
we talked about things being interesting. Math, not one of those things.
yeah,
So
same. So were you more into like? I'm assuming probably more into like the Englishes and the histories and things like that nature.
English, history, art, and photography. Those, well,
Yeah.
media really fascinated me and
Right. Right.
kept me engaged and kept me out of trouble. I'm going to plug this laptop in so it doesn't die because Tone over here with this fancy technology doesn't appreciate phone usage. It's the mobile era, Tone.
It's not my fault that the iPhone doesn't work properly with EV since it's not a proprietary like software within Apple because Apple can't, seems to be allergic to everything else outside of Apple. That's not my problem. That's
Well,
a
if you'd have
stupid
given
Apple
Steve
problem.
Jobs some of that money, it wouldn't have been a problem. Neither here nor there. But we're good. We're
Right.
good.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of my money. The math ain't math, and you're right on that. Audi,
Again,
it was
not
not
good at
math.
math.
Nope. So, because those were a lot of the subjects that I also loved and excelled in as well too. And early on, were you? What was your like thought process of after school? I want to say I thought maybe it was in the history of some sort or something like that too, or no?
Um, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
I
That
definitely knew that. Yeah, definitely
desperately wanted to be a
paleontology.
paleontologist. However, it became very apparent that there was a ton of math. And
Was
I
there
don't have yeah,
in
there's
paleontology?
apparently a lot. Now, there's a lot of amateur paleontologists who've gone pro and they're professionals and recognized in the field. They don't have degrees or they have honorary degrees. That's great for them. That just wasn't the path beset for me.
Hmm.
Guidance office when they were like, "What do you want to do when you graduate?" And I was like, "Paleontology." And they were like, "Great, take this test." And they were like, "You should probably eat crayons. That's where you land on this scale." And I was like, "All right, cool." So that was like when I got out of high school,
Hmm.
I got a job in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And just from there, that became my career for a very long time.
Yeah, and okay, so let's jump back into the paleontology there. So one of the things that is quite well known in at least the World Makers Consortium crew is that you and Abby, like all of us pretty much are dino fans, like super fans, except for I really think maybe Rad and Foo, but you and Abby take it to like kind of another level of like understanding how to pronounce the names and all this sort of stuff so as well too. So did that begin must be at an early age, like just like all of us, like you the first time you saw a dinosaur or Godzilla, you're like, that's what I'm into, that's my favorite thing in the world, like
You
right
you
there.
would you would genuinely believe that the first I remember I have crib memories, which is a really weird experience. But the very first memory I have, I was probably 3, maybe 4, because my grandmother was still like putting me in a stroller in public
Yeah.
places so that I didn't run off. She took me to the New York State Museum and they had the animatronic
Oh god, I love those
dinosaur
growing up.
exhibit.
God, yeah.
Walked me in the front door. First thing I remember, giant animatronic Brachiosaurus comes down. Fuck that. I screamed and cried the entire time because I didn't if they had explained to me we're gonna go see robots, they're not real.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Dinosaur people, absolutely. But like if
Mm-hmm.
they had explained that to me, probably wouldn't have lost my marbles as I did. But I've always had this thing where a lot of the stuff that scares me, once I get past the initial fear, I get really interested to learn about it.
Yeah.
Probably some type of Stockholm syndrome that I probably haven't addressed from therapy yet, but like that type of situation where like once my little brain got past the scary dinosaurs, I was like, yeah, let me check these things out. They were kind of fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like within arm's reach of some sort of dinosaur toy or prehistoric creature or anything like that. Something Jurassic Park was my favorite movie. The very first time I saw it, I just have such fond memories burned into my brain. Watched it on pay-per-view back when that was a thing, summer of '94 when it came to pay-per-view. Watched it at this dude Matt's house. They lived right next door, and it was a rainy, stormy night. So of course, my mom's like, "You
Oh,
gotta
perfect.
check in every so often," and I can't remember what the time measurement was, but I had to run from there over to tell my mom when Nedry was being attacked by the spitter. And of
The
course, it
right there.
was it was dark and it was
Perfect.
pouring rain outside.
Right.
I passed the alley between the two houses, and that's all that would run through my head was like the fucking spitter's over there. It's gonna get me. And I was, as a kid, 7, 8 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. And so, like, just that fond experience burned into my brain of like seeing the craziest fucking dinosaur movie that had ever come out at that point, and you know, here I am having that experience, and just it's stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Give me dinosaur media, give me books, give me art books,
Mm-hmm.
give me new paleontological news. I guarantee I won't understand a lot of it now. The field has really changed from when I was younger to what it is now with the technology upgrades that they have. Sometimes they don't even have to dig. That gag from Jurassic is, what are you going to do now that you guys don't have to dig up dinosaurs anymore? Guess we'll have to, well, there's certain digs that are like that now where they're like, hey, we can't disturb the earth, but guess what? We have these complete 3D scan renders. We're going to 3D print this thing 1-to-1 and study that. Like it's bananas.
It's fucking wild how some of that technology in like some of those fields have like completely either revolutionized or changed how they get those kind of like answers and reveals. That is pretty crazy. One thing I want to mention, you bring up that Nedry spot. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a minute since I've read the book, but and I know like movies and books and translations and medias, like there's going to be a lot of grace you got to take with that, but that scene in that book, like the version of all that, like was way more gory and way cooler if I remember correctly, right? Like didn't
It
didn't uh didn't it something with its intestines too, like Nedry's
They
intestines
they
in it. Like it's got
disemboweled Nedry while he
yeah,
was alive, which they
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
adapted for the Velociraptor, which they renamed into its own like specific species in the book because
Mm-hmm.
it was based on a Deinonychus. But
Mm-hmm.
they were in the movie. They were like, oh, these are Velociraptor mongolius, and it was. I think I said that right, but in the book they had given it its own little twist. But yeah, it was very. The book is very horror,
Yeah,
very
yeah. Book's
brutal.
amazing.
Crichton was a man of
Mm-hmm.
science, but it's like I've read that book hundreds of times, no joke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Listen to it on audio, the unabridged version, whenever I'm like, just, I need to reset, I'll throw that on. And you'll hear the characters, and they're like, we have a laptop computer that weighs 27 pounds and it's got 16 or gigabytes of RAM. And it's like,
right, right, right.
and you're laughing at it. But it's like back then when he wrote the book, because he started writing Jurassic in 89, very different time for technology, but the
Mm-hmm.
science was still pretty valid and still holds up to a certain degree. Every year they like review that in the movie, and it's still one of the most scientifically accurate films. The book is still one of the what would be considered a scientifically accurate fiction book because of the research that Crichton put in.
Mm-hmm.
The dude, I think Michael Crichton had something against theme parks because he wrote the original Westworld for HBO
He did. He did.
and then
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Because Westworld wasn't that a well, it was originally a TV series or something in the or
Correct.
a movie
Made for TV
movie.
movie. It was like two and a
Right.
half hours long for HBO.
Yeah, 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 yeah. OG, I actually love that series too. Super underrated. Mudhorn says, and I'm kind of this way too. Mudhorn, actually, I'm a beast in that genre. I'm a big Dragons fan too. I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so it all kind of like in that Dino realm for me. I love it all, honestly. So that's me as well, buddy. And hey, look who it is. Zilla did show up. Hi, Zilla. It's good to see you.
So
After we learned about your crime last night, so
you may want to lay low for a little while.
yeah, yeah. I don't.
If you have family you could stay with, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I haven't laughed that hard in a long fucking time. I'll
Now,
be honest.
Tone,
So
real quick, what do you think about the '98 Godzilla? The American one, Matthew Broderick. Really?
no, it's a good non-Godzilla movie. Now, I will say this. I will say this though. That the cartoon is actually really good, and it's pretty renowned for being really good, actually. But yeah, the Congo was a great book too, Audie. Yeah, I don't like the that '98 Godzilla at all. I did the Zilla, the
Even
laying egg, all the laying eggs and all the dumb
even though it's
bullshit.
canonical now, do you revere it a little bit more than you originally did because Toho decided to?
To a degree, yes, but it got the best middle finger. Was it Final Wars or whatever when
Yep.
Zilla made an appearance and got like waffle stomped in 2 seconds by
Yeah.
Goji? So Broderick, yeah, dude, yeah, very funny, Brent. Yeah,
He killed somebody.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, and got away with it because he's rich and white. So good for Matthew Broderick. So outside of like the Dino Love and stuff like that, I know that specific nerddoms I know that you're really big into, but like, what did like other nerddom and stuff at your that age look for you? And we'll get into Star Wars separately in a minute, but like, how about like comics and things in that nature? Did you like start reading those pretty early? Is that what kind of got you into that sort of stuff too? Like when it came to like, I know later on cosplay as well.
Power Rangers was a big one because it was on free television. It was
Really,
on
I didn't know
Fox.
that you were a Power Rangers kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah. It was a
Okay.
free show. It was on Saturday mornings, and I had
Hmm.
we didn't have cable TV. We had rabbit ears on the TV, and it happened to be the channel I got. So Fox
Same,
Kids.
same.
But comic books, I would always go to the corner store, and they'd have comics, and I'd read them if I could afford them.
Hmm.
I'd buy the one that I had read like 20 times just to like here you go. I paid money for this thing that I've come and stood here and read 20 times.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of reading.
Yeah.
So I was behind books a lot. If there was like I learned that there were like novelizations of movies. So if I couldn't see the movie, I would go to the school library and have them
Ah,
get me the novelization from like the high school library.
right.
And I got really good at forging my mother's signature so that I could get books because apparently they didn't want kids to read. So like Flowers for Algernon, which is my all-time favorite short story. Crushes my heart. Phenomenal, phenomenal story. I had to get 2 permission slips signed in order to read that when I was like 10 or 11 years
Oh
old.
shit.
So I
Okay.
just learned real quick to do that signature. Um, but yeah, I did so much reading. It was a lot of sci-fi and also the cutaway books like for movies and TV shows and things like that. Star Wars really famous for them, but like I just love
Mhm.
cutaway drawings, see inside, see how things are layered. So I would be either pouring through those or reading books. Goosebumps, huge Goosebumps fan. I had at one point read every single one. I
Mhm.
think I stopped when uh, R.L. Stein took a break because of all the lawsuits from the television series, which I never paid much mind to find out why. When he started writing more Fear Street, I took a break on those, but I think there's like 3 or 4 Goosebumps books that came out that I hadn't read. Animorphs, those were fucking awesome.
Animorphs.
There's one
Okay.
that I wish would get a new TV series.
With the proper technology, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So damn good. I think my theme for my upbringing was like give me child soldiers
Yeah.
and I'm into
Yeah.
it.
Right. It's
Because
a
I mean, Star Wars radicalized, 17-year-old farm boy and his sister into a war. Power Rangers, teenagers with attitude that were drafted into some intergalactic, kerfuffle that they had nothing to do with.
Mhm.
Animorphs, child soldiers in an intergalactic war. Like, give me that's my sci-fi, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Weren't you a big VR Troopers fan too?
I liked VR because again, free. It was on
Yeah.
regular television. You
Beta
could watch it.
boards.
You didn't need Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever. You could tune
Mhm.
in VR Troopers, Superhuman Cyber Squad or Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. That was another one. Like
Mhm.
again, give me child soldiers fighting for some cause that they had nothing to do with. That's what's up.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Same for me. I didn't, I grew up really rural. We didn't have cable TV way out in the woods. So it was still a long time with rabbit ears and, Fox channels and PBS channels. Those
Some
are the two
aluminum
channels I
foil.
watched. Yep. Those are the two channels I watched the most was PBS and a Fox. So a lot of the same shows I'd watch too. And even though I knew like things like Beetleborgs was stupid and all these stuff were trying to like capture that Power Ranger hype. Like I grew up on Voltron, so for me, like the first time
Yeah.
I watched Power Rangers, I was like, "This is live action Voltron." I was blown away, and I was older than most kids at that point. I was like 14 years old, but I've always been like, a big kid at heart. So like I remember like being like even a senior in high school. I told Zilla this before. Like I was a senior in high school when the Gold Ranger saga was going on, and I was like glued to it. I'm like, is it Jason or not? Like, what's going on here? I want that staff. It's one of my favorite storylines. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So kind of getting into Star Wars now too, because I know that that's been a big part of I know a lot of the things you do now. But was Star Wars always back then something that was early age for you as well, or did that bloom late?
No, Star Wars was like probably 9 or 10
Okay.
when I got into it. I had never, I knew it existed
Mm-hmm.
through the zeitgeist, the cultural zeitgeist. Like I knew who Darth Vader was, Luke Skywalker. Like I had heard
Sure.
the names. I had a very pop culture based knowledge at that time of it. But like I went to North Carolina to visit my aunt, and she was like, "Oh, I got the new, or not the new. I got the Star Wars on VHS. We can watch them." And I was like, "Okay, I've never seen it." Got to the cantina scene. It was too scary for me. Killed it
The cantina. Too much
because
for you, huh?
all the weird aliens. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just what did it again. Because like for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's like something will scare the shit out of me, and eventually I'll pass that point and get really interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like a couple of years later, I finally was like, "Huh." Just heard that they're going to make more Star Wars movies and everybody's excited. And I don't know, laser swords seem fucking cool. Let me read about this. And
Right.
I watched Star Wars and then watched Empire and then watched Jedi. And then I was like, I fucking need to consume every single thing that has ever been made or written about this product right now.
The hook
And just
happened.
and just from there, it's been I've been insufferable since.
Right. The hook happened. What is your favorite Star Wars film?
Toss up between Rogue One and
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3,
Really? Okay.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on the day. It depends on when you ask me, but
Yeah. Yep.
Rogue One, um,
That's a brilliant. You can take Star Wars out of it. That film's brilliant.
yeah, Rogue One was I guess, validation for being a
Mhm.
Star Wars fan, if that makes any sort of sense.
Mhm.
For anytime somebody teased me or brought up how like goofy Star Wars was, and they wouldn't look past it and look at the actual story, they just looked at the science fiction made in the 70s, and you could see the bubble wrap and all these things. Like it was a here's a Empire was, I'd say Empire was a film, Star Wars was a movie. I'll have
Yeah.
that conversation all day long, but like here's a war film that is at the most critical point in whatever this story was, and it was so well acted and so
Mhm.
the filming, the cinematography was beautiful. It was such a great movie.
Mhm.
And then you have episode 3, and Ewan and Hayden and everybody acted the shit out of that movie because they truly believed this was going to be the last Star Wars.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was awesome, and it was like that was coming, for me, it was coming of age. I was just out of high school when episode 3 came out. Like, this was like, okay, this is the culmination of it. Like, I've graduated high school and now Star Wars is graduating. It was like that type of situation. And it was just,
Yeah.
it's got a place in my heart that's always stayed there. And yeah,
Yeah.
I will agree. Andor did a great job, but Andor TV show versus movies, you know?
Yeah. I love that series as well too. There's been a lot of people that saying like it's almost like its own trilogy when you consider the 2 seasons and then Andor as well too. Because like yeah, it is a TV series, but it felt like compared to a lot of the other TV I watch, even if it's good TV television series, like I just it just felt so grounded, so real, so visceral. Like my God, like I don't know, it's something else, and
I'd put it up there with Band of Brothers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a big
In
Sopranos guy too, so I'd
yeah,
in those higher echelon of like TV series that people should or should watch, excuse me. So, and I because we got a lot of Star Wars fans out here too, kind of ranking some of their ones. Empire is obviously an all time fave for me too, but episode 3, it took me a long time to kind of come around on the prequels, and I actually attribute that to the Clone Wars series, but I love Revenge of the Sith. When it was replaying last year, I did go see that in the theater again to kind of relive that experience, and it really is pretty special. The
yeah,
only thing I take issue really with that movie though that I always thought was kind of lame was just the kind of her death at the end was kind of always a little campy to me. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It could have been more dramatic. It could have
yeah,
been, you could argue it could have been more like brutal, but
yeah,
it's like if you think about it, like that's so fucking heartbreaking
mm-hmm,
that she just gave up. Like that's how bad it was to see her shining star in life, and his, her other, like her father, Obi-Wan was a father figure to both of them in different ways. And you had the Clone Wars, you had the novelizations and things. He was always supportive, and to watch them
mm-hmm,
fight and him do terrible things, and the truth slowly comes out, and she's giving child, she just quits. Like
mm-hmm,
it's so fucking heartbreaking. But George wrote it to that. My only gripe in that was the when she said, "Anakin, I'm pregnant." Like for whatever reason, the word "pregnant" didn't ring with Star Wars with me. It felt like
right,
with child, I felt like that would have
yeah,
been
with child would have been, yeah,
because Lucas always says how like the third one was very Shakespeare. It was very Shakespeare. With child, to me, would have been more Shakespearean.
yeah,
I'm carrying your son, or I'm carrying your child. We're going to be parents. Like any of that. It's same with the sequel trilogies, which are their own whole thing.
mm-hmm,
When when Poe said "big ass door," I was like, that's not Star Wars.
mm-hmm.
That's a really modern phrase. Like
Yeah, it is,
it kind
yeah,
of took me out of it. But like beyond that, for episode 3, that was the only thing that like stuck out to me, where I was like, that doesn't feel. Did
that's
maybe
fair,
he just had to be like real clear about it?
yeah. Annie, you came in me,
Yeah, yeah. You knocked me up. There
yeah,
was
yeah.
that last time when we did the that monkey chandelier flip. The Quakian monkey chandelier flip. You got me pregnant.
Right. That's a good salicious drop there, so I like that.
Well, you
Respect.
got to have a chandelier, and she's got money. That's
Right, right. Big Celestin door. There you go. Thing. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so and I know and I don't want to dive too deep into asking some of your thoughts on the sequels. You don't have an issue with them more or less, right?
Yeah, and you're wrong, and that's fine.
You're
Um,
no, you're wrong. You're
we,
wrong. Yeah, you're slurping this up right now.
I'm a paid Disney shill. I've been told.
Yeah, I have been to it, to be honest
I'm
with you.
I'm on that Disney dick, as it's been in my DMs. I've been informed,
Hmm.
but I took a lot of enjoyment out of them. There were a lot of things where true fanboys would argue and scream until they're red in the face, and then I could walk over to my library shelf and pull out a Star Wars book and go, "Here you go, legends that you carried on about, and you wish that all the sequels were legends. It says this thing that happened right here.
Hmm.
That's a thing that happened right there, but it's got the Disney logo on it." And so it's like I took it away. It was Star Wars, and I like the Dave Filoni approach, which he did before the sequel. So it's not like him retconning, where it's like these are stories around a campfire, and you could sit around the same campfire with a person 20 times, and you may hear 5 or 6 different versions of the same story, slightly tuned or whatever. And so I just took the pieces away and went, hey, I enjoyed these movies for what they are. I really like the characters. I wish that they had done Finn way better in the third one. I wish
Hmm.
that they had given
He
him
deserved a lot better,
his
I feel.
his flowers, and
Hmm.
hopefully as they do this Ray movie, we get Finn, we get him in some capacity. I don't know if he'll ever work with Lucasfilms again because of just the things that have happened between them
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
some of his public comments about how he was treated. But I hope that those films get expanded upon. I love what they're doing in that time period with Mandalorian right now between
Between
Jedi
those, yeah.
Jedi and the Force Awakens. I love it.
Yeah,
So it's
I do
like
too.
to me, it's Star Wars for me is like pizza. Even cold pizza is good pizza to me. It's just different, you know.
Mm. I'm not even gonna go at you on it. I'm gonna let you have your day on it. But I definitely feel like there's from a story, from a written standpoint, like they're just to me they're just a mess. And it's not even the Disney thing. Like, yeah, I'm burned on some Disney, but at the same time, I'm also a Disney honey dick kind of fan. So like, it's troublesome for me at times. But yeah, it's been really hard to find a lot of things, and especially that last one that I can enjoy. I digress. But the one thing I do want to highlight, you did bring it up, is like you're kind of like the known encyclopedia when it comes to Star Wars facts and stuff like that. Do you just retain information really well and things in that nature? Because you always drop like actual things. Like somebody will say something and they'll be like, "Well, ask Famine because he'll actually know," or whatever it is.
I'm not like Thane, who is quite literally. I'm convinced he just downloaded all the data, put a chip
Straight,
in his
he's
brain,
Lobot. I've heard he might be Lobot.
like the
So.
Order 66 chip. He just got the all Star Wars stuff chip. But like again, if
Mhm.
I'm interested in it, which I have been since I was 10 years old, you give me books. I read it all. You gave me access to the internet
Mhm.
and went back before the internet was the Wild West, but before it was this fucking cesspool of just miserable AI slop and bot accounts and hatred and vitriol and faceless insults and everything.
Mhm.
There were just fan made, here's scanned magazines from 1973 onward with George Lucas interviews where he drops these little nuggets of Star Wars knowledge. You can read them. You don't have to go to the library and hope that they have it. And so just I would like read these things and
Mhm.
put them in my brain, and that's what stuck. Don't get me wrong, I can't remember my fucking locker combination from high school or where I put my wallet most days. But if you're like, hey, when did Corn Horn build his lightsaber in between I Jedi, around the time of I Jedi, like what parts did he use? Oh, he used a throttle from a speeder bike and he learned from a holocron from somebody who was in the Clone Wars. Like that's just in my brain for whatever reason. And so
That's
when somebody
yeah.
mentions something, I'm like, actually, I know this, and I get really excited and I get to info
Mhm.
dump that.
Right. Right. Right.
If it's
What's your?
not in the Jedi archive, it doesn't exist.
That's just laughing
How
thing.
embarrassing! You lost the
Yeah.
planet, Master Obi-Wan has.
Yeah. Perfect. What's your favorite Star Wars creature?
Creature?
Creature.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the Bendu. I will argue he's a creature.
Really?
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah, I was so as you can tell last night when I saw that he had a Bendu, when Thane had a Bendu, which by the way, if you have not or have yet not to see what Thane has done with his world build, please go check that out. World Makers Consortium last night. That was there's been a lot of great things going on that you guys have been showcasing and showing off room tours, but especially if you're a Star Wars fan, Jesus, Thane is that is the Jedi Archives. I'm convinced he actually has the Jedi Archives.
Yeah, and if you didn't watch it, what were you doing? Hmm?
Yeah, actually. And why is that? Because Friday night is what?
It's the number one world making show, world building show internationally at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. We literally have guests from all over the world. Nobody else is doing what we do. No one else is doing it.
It's fact. It's fact. So do me a
The,
favor.
I do have to answer that question. Thane
Give us
has
a question.
he's,
Shane's got a question. Oh.
is Bendu an alien or a creature or an alien sapien? He seems to be the only one, so I'm categorizing him as a creature. He's a being of the Force. He's not, it's not like there's 20 of them running around that planet. He's literally a being of the Force. So I think he's a creature.
Okay. There you go. There you go. That's a really good question too. But what again, and Rebels is probably my favorite of all Star Wars anything at this point. As much as I love Andor and the Rogue One and stuff, like Rebels for me, that's where the heart lays. So even
Clone
the
Wars
Bendu
again
stuff.
for me. Child soldiers. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you clearly just love it, don't you?
Apparently I have a type of storytelling, and it's like put
Right.
kids into fucking horrible situations and watch them persevere or die.
Right.
The clones are children. They're 12
actually
years old.
I feel like Attack of the Clones gets a lot of like hate from the fandom. I actually really like Attack of the Clones. I think I'm one of the few people that really actually likes that film. I know that the awkward love stuff on our Naboo is like really odd and weird, and I agree with that. It's kind of awkward, but like I really think that movie is awesome. Like I love that. I saw it 3 times in the theater.
I defend episode 2 from this is not a commentary on anything. This is not an assault on anybody's rights or takeaways. Having been an awkward teenage boy, Anakin being an awkward teenage boy, and I was an awkward teenage boy at that time. I think I was 16 years old. It made sense of how just uncomfortable and like, but because they were always told as boys, if she says no, try again. You've got to be persistent. And what did Anakin do? Come on, So, he was always like, blah, blah, blah.
And because she got pregnant.
Yeah, you do have, well, that was in episode 3, but like
Yeah,
you do have feelings for me and blah, 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 and flirty and all that stuff. And it was just like, I don't think George Lucas knows how to write romance. I really do not. I think he lucked out having Harrison Ford play Han because Harrison would pull him aside and be like, that's not how people talk. But he didn't have that for episodes 2 and 3. But Hayden was really good at playing an awkward teenage guy. It didn't have a mom. He had his mom until he was 6, and then he was a Jedi. He was sent to like priest school.
Yeah, and so well to where I feel like a lot of people, and myself included at the time, was like, God, he's a terrible actor. I don't think he's a terrible actor. I think he was trying to actually portray the awkwardness of a character that is so emotionally unstable. Because now you look at him, even when you go back to like the Ahsoka series, when there's some flashbacks with him and Obi-Wan, or no, for the Obi-Wan series, I think, right? And it's like it's almost like he's a different person because he's also grown as well too. So I go back and look at that a lot different now on how I thought of his acting back then because I don't. Really
He and I we've had coffee together, and he's a tremendous cat, and he's done his homework. He knows Star Wars.
He's a fan. He's an actual fan, right? You've had coffee with Hayden Christensen.
Yes, I did. It was outside of Rhode Island Comic Con, 2000.
What the fuck?
18 or 19. Yeah, there's pictures. But like quite literally, I was in line at Starbucks and I turned around and he was in line and my girlfriend and I were having something like, a conversation like, and just, it was like one of those kind of like, not to downplay it, but like a nothing argument, like one of those like little back and forth conversations. And I'm like, the fucking chosen one is here. And she's like, what? And I'm like, Hayden Christensen's here getting coffee. I'm not going to make a scene. So we get our coffee and I go to walk by and I was just, hey man, appreciate your movies. Thank you. Left. Well, we couldn't get into the convention. We had a friend who was working there as a vendor. His grandfather is a very famous comic book inker and artist, Joe Snow. And they were there on the family's behalf, and we just couldn't work our way in. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back to Starbucks because it was the only place with a table. We get back there, and Hayden and his handler were hanging out because they weren't there for that day. So I walked over and I said, hey, I don't want to make a big fuss. I just want to let you know, huge fan, like I said inside, blah, blah, blah. Would it be okay if I got a picture? If not, no problem. He's like, yeah, no problem. So we take a picture, and his handler saw my mythosaur skull, and we were off to the races. He was like, "Oh, those guys from the the Mandalorian works, they've all got really cool costumes and blah blah blah." And then me and I started kind of working him into the conversation because he was standing right there, and then we sat and talked for like 30 some minutes of just shooting the shit. And he knows Star Wars, like he
That's awesome.
made mention of
Random.
like certain story arcs and everything. We just sat there, had our Starbucks, and then when their cab got there, they were really nice and thanked us for our time, and it was just like a moment, and he left, and I just like sat down, and I was like, I just
Hmm.
fucking sat here and drank coffee and talked with Anakin Skywalker, the goddamn chosen one. Like it,
Hmm.
yeah,
Brought balance to the force.
I did.
He really did. And
Yeah.
I love now that late in life now with some of the projects going on that he's really gotten his flowers. The fandom has, because the fandom did, and I blame partly myself for that back then too, because it took me a while to come around with the prequels.
Yeah.
And I still like can look at them objectively, criticism, I think that's always important, but um to see him be so widely accepted and kind of come back into the fold like he does, it's been pretty awesome to see that. Because he's more stoic and calm too. Like when you see him in these interviews, like even back then, like I feel like he had a little bit more excitement and energy, but now he's almost like this, like I don't know how to describe it, but just very like you can tell that he's kind of aged into this really well and accepts it, loves it
He has
still.
become the master.
He has.
Because you look at you look at Owen, and he's just Ewan, excuse me, and he's just like, I'm in Star Wars. My brother, they call my brother Obi too, and like he's just always like that. And Hayden's more like, so glad to have the opportunity and be embraced by the fans, and I'm really glad to
Yeah.
be here, and that we get to tell the
Mhm.
tale of Anakin in between, and we get to see him on live action. I was a really big fan of the Clone Wars when I sat down to watch it, and I worked with Rosario when we were kids, and like
Yeah.
it's two very different people, and it's like he's so poised. He has, you know, he's got himself composed for those, and it's really cool to see.
And I know, like, I love Rosario Dawson and have for, I've always said since probably the movie Kids, but it's I still don't know if she's necessarily the most perfect person for the Ahsoka role, but I do feel like at the same time she kind of is. And you can tell that she's put a lot of herself into it, I feel like, which that's what I appreciate. I know that before she started shooting it, she was doing training to do like the ambidextrians kind of work, so I really appreciate that. I feel like that when people, put that kind of effort into it, it makes a little bit of difference. So yeah, Zilla, you think she's perfect. That's fair. And like I said, it's kind of a duality for me. Like I do and I don't, and it's just because I love Ashley Eckerson. Did I say that right?
Yep,
Ecker,
Eccleston.
yeah, so much. Because I just always hear her, and Ahsoka's like one of my favorite characters. So, um, but yeah, he loves. I think he's in love with her. Okay, that's awkward. No, it's fine. You can love her.
We're
So,
not we're not going to talk about Rent. Just let Zilla know right off the bat. He can talk about Rent on his own time.
right, Stompy McStomperson over there. So because we could talk, I know we could talk Star Wars all day, and I certainly could, you certainly could, but I do want to kind of divert here some, and I want you to build me, share your perfect sandwich build. What is your perfect sandwich?
Perfect sandwich. A good Kaiser roll,
Okay.
layer of mayo, thin spread of mayo,
Hmm.
Hellman's or Duke's. It's the same fucking product, different regions. Line of that. Roast beef,
Okay.
rare, nice, cold, rare roast beef, pepperoni, lettuce, tomato, pickles. Give me your oil, vinegar, your oregano.
All that stuff.
Um, I'd say maybe a little dill, and that freaks people out. Dill on a sandwich. I mean, there's already the pickles there, but I'm telling you, it changes things.
Yeah, dill's
Fresh,
good.
coarse black pepper, a little bit of salt.
Hmm.
Put the bun on top, cut it in half, hand it to me.
Toasted Kaiser or no?
No, no.
Just plain okay.
Like for it to me, a toasted sandwich is a different. It's a sit down. I'm in
Right.
a formal setting, not formal, but
Yeah.
I'm like at a table somewhere where there's like a sandwich. I can
Yeah.
have it at a job site, or I'm out on a boat fishing, or I'm hanging out and eating over my kitchen sink. Like it's just it's that type of experience where if I'm like
Hmm.
toasted bun or a hot roast beef or something like that. Like I'm sitting down, it's a different thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I feel like toasted. I don't mind from time to time, but I feel like at the end of the day, I like overall it kind of depends on what I'm building as a sandwich or what I want out of it or whatever. But I definitely like what you built there. So um I'm a big Italian sandwich guy. So roast beef I'm just starting to come around to because a place around here does thick cut roast beef. Man, thick cut roast beef just slams different. And I feel like
I gotta have it thin. I gotta have it thin.
you like it
Chewy.
thin? Oh
Yeah.
man, the thick is what kind of drew me to it. I just roast beef has never been a lunch meat that I've ever really gravitated towards. Um, but I feel like later in life, it's kind of been one of those things where, like, if it's done right by a good deli or something like that, or a meat market, because you can't like, and honestly, buying a lot of those packs of meats and the commercial shit kind of sucks, anyways. But roast beef, especially when you got to give some love to it. But so your sandwich building comes also from you were a sandwich shop owner. Talk about that because when you first said that to me, I was like, holy shit, really? Let's
I was not only was I a sandwich shop owner, I was also a sandwich artist later in life. So, all right, I've got a pedigree when it comes to sandwich making.
right.
I don't mean to brag, but I had assistant manager training at Subway, so
See, perfect.
19 years old. I had been working in a restaurant for like a year and a half, and it was more my grandfather's dream, if I'm being completely honest, of me having a sandwich shop. He wanted to finance it with some of my monetary backing. I did the thing. I lasted about a year. I actually got out of the red and into the black. But it was right around, let's see, 2005 and 6 as I worked in the restaurant, and then 7 into 8 is when I had the sub shop, and it was called Kevo's, and there was an egregious spelling error on the sign, sandwiches, but it was right around the 2008 depression recession that hit,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like time for me to get out of it because I wasn't going to make my living there. It
Right,
was a lot of responsibility for someone who was young and stupid, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. A lot of alone time because I was the only person. Every once in a while, I'd have a friend who would come in and like help out if there was a really critical rush or whatever.
right,
But yeah, no, they gave us a fucking badge to wear on our clothes. Um, but it was an experience and it was cool, and I got to learn the inner workings of businesses, and I learned a lot about my town, about who controls. There's two big families that really own the properties around here, so it was like interesting to learn that. I learned to advocate for myself when it came to contracts with businesses. It was a great learning experience, but I would never do it again. I would not own operate a restaurant. If I were wealthy and I had a way to just pay everybody a fair and living wage and just owned a restaurant, that'd be one thing. But owning and working at the same restaurant again, I wouldn't do it.
mm-hmm. A lot of work too. I mean, there's
Yeah.
also a lot of hoops. You probably have to deal with the, of course, health department,
Yeah.
all sort of stuff you got to deal with too.
Every time, perfect fucking
Perfect.
temperatures, perfect scores because I checked every day.
Yeah.
That was one thing I learned from the restaurants. I was food safe certified. Like I took that seriously because especially if you're the only person working at a place, you are responsible for the health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
You're the guy. So if somebody gets sick, it's on you. If somebody,
Mm-hmm.
heaven forbid, fucking drops dead because they ate bad food, it was poison. It turned, and you're like, nah, it's probably got another day here. That's on you, and that's a lot of pressure,
Sure is.
especially for things that you don't control. There's no layers in place to protect you, even with insurance and things like that. And it was a lot. And so, like, I'm glad I got out of it, but I stayed and continued working in restaurants afterwards. But then I eventually got out of that and started working at Subway because it was quite literally behind my apartment, which was dope. I didn't have to spend gas money. I could just
Mm-hmm.
walk over. It's great. I mean, it was a shitty job, but it was like the plus was lunch break. I could walk home, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sit
Back
on my
then,
couch, watch TV.
back
It's
then, that
great.
time period, Subway was still pretty awesome. I feel like too.
$5
Around
footlongs were a real
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I was a massive Subway fan back then. My roommate at the time was a general manager of one, and then somebody I dated at the time worked there, and other friends worked there. So that's mostly what I ate for a few years.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
awesome,
mean,
awesome back
the
then.
statute of limitations are gone. We'd at the end of the night, we'd have to throw away a certain amount of bread, but leave bread for the morning crew before while
Mm-hmm.
they baked. So we'd have loaves of bread at home
Mm-hmm.
because once it's at the dumpster, it's no longer there. So we
Mm-hmm.
soups. If the soup didn't sell all day and it wasn't the next day's soup would come home. So like
Mm-hmm.
we were deep in Subway
Mm-hmm.
territory, but
Some liberties.
it kept food on the table. And when the pay wasn't super good, and I made some good friends there that I still talk to them. And
Right on.
I mean, not to boast, but for the 2 years that I was there, 3 years, excuse me, that I was there, we had the number one selling customer appreciation day and the holiday sub platters. I was the catering captain. Fucking
Right.
blew that out of the roof for the
All
entire
you.
franchise owner.
Yep.
They personally gave me like a $200 gift card to like the fucking mall at one point because they were like, "You're great at selling these things, blah blah blah. Like we don't do this." And like people were, coworkers were like, "Well, why does he get it for some of the days we were here doing it?" It's like because y'all hide in the back when the customers come in. I come out and fucking
Right. One of those.
either make their experience or make them want to leave.
Right.
Just ask the rude customer, anything else you want in that? No, no problem. Just bury them in kindness until they go. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's a mall?
what's a mall?
Yeah.
It's that guy that got cut in half in Star Wars.
Good answer. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about zombies in general?
Like the song by the Cranberries. I like it. I think their music. That's my bread and butter. I am a zombie fanboy. If you've ever seen, if you ever played Magic the Gathering, you've seen the Cracked deck
Mm-hmm.
that was out years ago. They made like a comedy deck. There was a zombie fanboy card, and I still have mine. It's the only Magic card that I own. Um, Give me zombies television, movies.
But
You know,
how do you feel overall about George A. Romero when it comes to zombies? Is he the king of zombies still to this day to you?
who I don't know any George Romero. Is that like another musician?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I say that
Yeah,
wrong?
no, Zombie King. The guy, the dude laid the groundwork for zombies as a reflection of what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He now, whether or not people have taken that and stayed with it, or if it's just now of like zombies, survivors, here's your franchise. He really took that medium of slow moving horror and let it tell a story of the time period. Let it tell social commentary that still reverberates today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I write my stories, I don't always do that because some of my stories are just straight up like zombie horror. Like I want, just a scary little story. But I do have a book over on Amazon. I'm sure we could put a link in the chat at some point. But I wrote a series of short stories. I have a zombie novel that's still in like a very rough draft that's halfway edited. Um, I've been in collections of short stories all over the place, and just like zombies are my jam.
I had a feeling. Since there's a big, poster behind you as well too.
Yeah, I don't know. I just found that on the side of the road, and I there
Right.
was a nail on the wall, and I was like, I need
I
to.
need to put something here.
Yeah.
Uh, what is the I always get the George zombie film. It's the one where there's a gate outside the city and it's all rich people inside and they start looking at the fireworks and stuff like
Yes.
that. That's
Not diary. Land
damn
of the
it.
Dead.
Land of the Dead. I feel like that gets a lot of like clown on too. I love that movie. I think George's
Look at the
zombie movies
sky
are still some of my
flowers.
yeah.
Look at the sky
Yeah.
flowers.
Yeah, Skyflowers. I still find that his are still some of my favorite. I like how what I love about zombies in general is that they can be placed into really any mythos and done really well. I mean, look at Star Wars back in the day. What was it? Death Troopers or Dark Troopers or whatever. Death
Death
Troopers.
Troopers. Yeah.
Yeah, that like that storyline. Marvel Zombies. That mid 2000s all of a sudden exploded because Walking Dead and graphic novel was so good and so awesome, right?
Blackest
Um,
Night in DC.
yeah, Blackest Night, DC, and all those sort of things. Um, I do feel like it's gotten to be a point where it's a little too much at times, or it's saturated, oversaturated in some ways. But I still always go back to Romero's being some of my
One
favorites. So
thing that I did learn about zombies and why, like, for some people, it's the horror aspect, right? It's like, oh,
hmm
it's this fucking scary thing that's going to eat you, and that's
hmm
enough. And for other people, on a deeper level, it's the fear of not knowing what happens when you die and then coming back to life. You don't get to, if you're religious, you don't get to go to your heaven or your hell or your purgatory or be
hmm
reincarnated or whatever. You're just fucking stuck.
you're
And for a
stuck.
lot
Yep.
of people, that's horrifying. And I get
hmm
that, because like that's always been one that I've wondered is like, what's, yes, the brain's rotted and it's still sloshing around in there. It's like, is there a residual of self that you're aware that you're just like, I don't want to do this, but this virus is making me, or whatever it is, like this magical curse that's been put upon this mummies. I would argue in popular culture are a form of zombie. They're just a magic
Absolutely.
zombie, voodoo zombies. Like what sense of self is in there when you're doing these horrific things? Like that's scary too. And
hmm
it's like an onion, or an ogre. It's got layers.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, so I also want to talk about Kevin Smith, because one of the things I feel like I've noticed with you, if correct me if I'm wrong, is you're kind of a Kevin Smith guy as well, right? Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I feel like there's been a lot of
Is this
back
where
and
you slide the cosplay picture of me dressed as Kevin Smith onto the screen? Is that what's going to happen right
I
now?
should have actually. You're right. I
Yeah,
should have. That's a good point. Because I feel like when you're kind of a Kevin Smith guy or gal or whatever, it's you either are kind of more of like a super fan, or you kind of like, yeah, I'm aware of them, they're all right, blah blah blah, or whatever, and that's really about it. But I'm a pretty big super fan of pretty much anything that they do, or him and View Askew or whatever. But I know that there's always been a lot of references, little jokes with you about that like I feel like only you and I kind of get, and some of the people that we talk to. So that being said, yeah, you have cosplayed. Was it Silent Bob? Is it
yes.
Silent Bob? Yes. Um,
Well, I'm sorry. With these fucking eyebrows, these expressive fucking Kevin Smith eyebrows, you
right,
think
right.
I could cosplay anybody else in a satisfactory way? No, sir.
No,
It's
sir.
got to be
No,
Silent Bob.
no, not even a Mr. Svenning. But what's your favorite Kevin Smith film in the Jersey series?
Clerks 2.
Clerks 2? Why Clerks 2?
It was a very
Just say
it
Rosario
was
Dawson. Let's be honest. I'm kidding.
it was a self-reflecting thing of like working in a retail food setting and just like hating the job but going for the people.
hmm
And it was a very much slice of life, like getting older and learning what was important to you and for that character for Dante and Randall. And I always say when people are like, oh, you like those movies, who are you more, Silent Bob or Jay? No, I'm like a combination of fucking Dante and Randall Elias. Like those
hmm
three, every aspect of those characters was a piece of me. And
hmm
it was cool to see on the screen. And that movie always gets me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also well. To be fair, if I remember correctly, you also have been aware for a long time about pillow pants, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're
Women.
not. Yeah. Right. 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 Um, yeah, no, I always appreciate finding somebody out in the wild that is also a Kevin Smith fan as well.
And like you'll notice too, like you said, is sometimes I'll throw out a joke and it'll just land with you, or I'll say something and
Yeah,
Zilla will chuckle and it won't. I'm a big, to borrow the pro wrestling term, I'll say something just to pop the guys. Like that's to make somebody break. If I can do that, if
uh-huh,
I can make you pop while we're doing something where we're supposed to be serious or we're like on another
yeah,
topic,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. No, I love it. It's good to see a dead man. I know you were in here earlier, but we were kind of talking. But appreciate you popping in as well, brother. Um, Yeah, yeah, you that's actually one of my things, and I'll probably talk about it again later too, that I instantly when I started coming to the WMC crew a little bit was you always you always throw out these like one-liners, one zippers out of nowhere, and they're usually pop culture referencey, and a lot of times I feel like I'm one of the few that either catch it or get it. And it always like I'm a big fan of simply if I'm at least laughing by something I say, then hey, the joke hit. I don't care
It
if
took
anybody else is
every
laughing.
ounce of energy last night when you said, yeah, that ship's totally Nubian, not to go, what's a Nubian? Like it took every fucking ounce of energy. So
Right.
just appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. Um, so I think I've caught you a couple times on this too. Do you drink a little bit? And if
I've
so, what?
I've been I've been known to I've
Right,
had a cocktail or 12.
right.
Yeah, I'm a big craft cocktail guy. Tiki, tropical escapism culture. I love it. I
Yeah.
will get me behind a bar, a well stocked bar with the right mixers, or give me the right fruits, and I will make you some fucking bomb ass cocktails and
Oh,
be
like
happy
that.
to tell you all about it.
Okay. What's your favorite? What's your favorite cocktail?
Zombie, the original 38
Okay.
Zombie. Yep.
Tell us
Or
what's in that.
all right. So you've got three different types of rum. You have, I guess now because it's getting harder, although companies are starting to come around to making old school cocktails, you can use apricot, um, liqueur, bitters, actual lime and lemon juice. There's um, there's a syrup that I don't have the recipe off the top of my head, but I can make. But it's in my book. Thankfully to Beach Bum Berry, he was very kind. He has the actual breakdown of the original cocktail. I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I'm writing a book of zombie short stories, and one of the short stories is the first zombie, and I want to play it like a horror story until you realize that he's just so fucked up and drunk." And he was really great. Gave me full permission to reproduce the recipe because it was Don the Beachcomber who was the original tiki cocktail guy who started bringing the tiki scene to the Midwest, and people started having bars. He had kept all of these things secret, and so he made the recipes of he made the recipe so goddamn secret. Only certain people in the kitchens in the back that were making the syrups knew that syrup, and that was their only thing. This person knew the correct ratio to make this juice. This one knew half the syrup,
Jesus.
and he would give it to somebody else, and they would make it on another day. It was really good. So like he broke down and figured it out, got a hold of people who were like 95 years old and had them retaste one or two bottles that they had found and be like, "Oh, I remember when I worked there, we had this in the kitchen, and that's got to be that," and like broke it down. So he gave me the recipe, and that's one of those in there that's just like that's the one. And it's
That's the
always like, oh,
one.
you can only have two. Places like to do that because the gimmick of the drink is you're limited to two. Otherwise, you're going to feel like a zombie and fall off your chair and be really fucked up because there's so
Man.
much alcohol in it. Um, I love a
Okay.
good fog cutter. Give me grapefruit and a nice rum with a little bit of lemon, maybe a splash of simple syrup. Fuck me up. Forget it. I will drink that until the cows come home.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's great. I apparently need to try one of these zombies because that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a cocktail maker too, but it's usually at this point, and Dead Man knows as well. It's malt liquor and OJ. So
Yeah.
brass monkey.
Is it at
That's
least
all
Old
that
English?
is. It's I got a 40 of Old English. I'm ready to crack right now. I'm dying for. I'm
Nice.
drinking one tonight. Gotta have another one of those.
They have numbers you can call for that if you need.
No, it's just delicious. Just delicious. I'll call somebody to drop me another 40 off when I can't drive. So that's fine.
Hey, there you go.
So we did kind of just touch on a little bit about, you cosplaying as Kevin Smith and Silent Bob. As far as cosplaying go, I do want to talk about that a little bit here. So what kind of got you into that space and deciding you want to kind of start doing that?
I really wanted to. I wanted to meet people. I liked making things.
Hmm.
I wanted to dress up as Cable, and I have this thing, and I've since learned to call it like cosplayer's audacity or maker's audacity, where I see something and I'm like, I could fucking make that.
Hmm.
I could recreate that. I can do that. It's a horrible thing to have because it will send you down rabbit holes you never thought you'd go on. You're trying to find if you were trying to make something screen accurate, you're all of a sudden like staring at your screen and you've got it enlarged 10,000%. You're in the background looking at what does that fucking label say? What company
Right.
is that from? You're DMing people that worked on the set that you know through three different people separately and be like, hey, I'm friends with so and so, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you're going to see this, but could you just tell me what that brand of thing is? Or is there
Hmm.
any way you could tell me if I have this paint tone match without breaking NDA? But I like to build things, and I at a point I loved to dress up as characters that I enjoyed and go to
Hmm.
conventions.
Yeah. Yeah. So was Cable the first one you did, or what was the first one you
No,
did?
no. I mean, technically, the first character I ever cosplayed was somebody from Court of Owls. I had a
Okay.
Court of Owls mask, dressed up nice, went to New York Comic Con, um, looked around, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I am grossly underprepared for the crowd of people here." And then I did a overnight full Batman build, full bat suit, armored Batman. Got to the convention, and it was so cold in October that the hot glue that I had used, which was again all the wrong things, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Pieces were falling off in the parking lot. I had shaved my beard. I don't want to see that guy in the mirror with no beard.
Right.
That's
Right.
no. Then I'm looking at my dad, and that's a whole different ball game. So like everything went wrong, and you'd think that's where I would have stopped. You know, a lot of people they would have quit. I'm dumb, so I didn't quit.
You kept
Um,
going.
and then I did Ghost Rider, again, another one of those like quick builds over the course of a week. And I went to a Halloween party, and then I went to MC Chris. He does his tours. I'm a big,
Oh,
huge fan of MC Chris,
MC. I love MC Chris.
and
Oh
he
yeah.
does a costume contest at his shows, especially in October. And it was at the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn, and I won by crowd vote in his vote as the winner of the event.
No shit.
And him and Spose like were super nice to me. Spose was there, fuck great main rapper. Um, they were super nice to me and really gracious, and I got that bug of performing in front of a crowd again because I was a chorus kid in high school and in middle school, and that was totally different because it was like all eyes on me. But
Mm-hmm.
I could cover my face if I wanted to. I could act as somebody else. I could be a different character. I could use their lines. I didn't have to think of shit off the cuff. And yeah, just from there, it was like, yeah, I really want to dress up as Cable now. Like, I want to go and enter some contests. I want to go meet people. And like, I see these people doing cool things at events, and I want to go and be their friend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. What a Well, first of all, does your backpack have jets?
It is. I bounty hunt for Java Hut to finance my vet that I have
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Couple more payments left on it, but once it's done, it's done. So
Mm-hmm. Didn't MC Chris also did a voice in Aquatine? Was it MCP pants or something like that?
MCP pants, absolutely. He did
Fucking
a
love
couple,
Aquatine.
like a couple other like one-off one or two liner characters. He was Hesh
Yeah,
in a C Lab 2020.
that's right.
Um, yeah, he's
That's right.
he's he's done some pretty prolific voice work if you're an Adult Swim fan, and he's
Mm-hmm.
done theme songs for Kevin Smith's podcasts. Also, Zach and Miri Make a Porno. His music was in a lot of
Very underrated comedy, by the way.
absolutely, and even though it's not in the
Right.
Weinstein Skewverse,
Mm-hmm.
he counts it, and of course he brings the characters back in other films without their names because you know he doesn't own the names, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's canon. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of the world.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great film. What was the best cosplay you've done? Was it the Ghost Rider or the Cable?
The best. Fuck, that's a toughie.
Is it?
Negan was the
I
most fun.
I think I did see that one. That one looked like. Did you get the bat that came out for?
No, baby.
No, you made
No,
it. You make
we
it.
don't do that in this house.
Okay. Okay, you made
I
it.
went out and bought a foam baseball bat and painted the bitch to look like wood until I set it next to a wood bat, had somebody mix them up, and then had to stand back and look to see if I could remember something specific about my brushstrokes that popped it, and I was able to pick mine up. But if you were on a set and you needed a foam bat painted to look like the wooden bat, that would have been me. But dude, I wrapped it in faux barbed wire that was like leather, so it
Shit.
wasn't real points. And I attached a bald cap with pieces of hair and teeth to make it look like chunks of Glenn's. Spoiler alert for a show that happened 10 years ago and a comic book that happened even longer than that. Chunks of Glenn on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had so much fun as that character. Casey Jones, fucking loved that. That was a blasty blast. Loved that one. My best, man. That's a tough. Jane from Firefly. That's not an endorsement of scumbag Adam Baldwin. This was before
Yeah, yeah.
any
He's
of
a
that.
shithead. Yeah.
Yeah, before anybody was aware of how just of a miserable fuck he was, to the point where they
Hmm.
wrote him out of the book series and the
Right.
comics because they were tired of him being attached to the franchise. But yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
Jane from Firefly.
You got the hat, right? I was gonna say, I thought, were you just wearing it recently somewhere too? I thought I saw. I was like, I was gonna point it out, and I didn't get a chance around to do it.
So
Yeah, it
this
is.
is where I get to be a real sweetheart.
Hmm.
My grandmother knitted me this, and she also knitted me a much lighter one so that I could wear that at conventions and not overheat, but have Jane's hat for the
That's
winter.
awesome. See.
And she's since passed. She passed away in April of last year,
Hmm.
and this is one of those things that I will have for the rest of my life, as well as the other hat, and it's just Jane's hat, very iconic.
An awesome grandma. Awesome. What's the favorite con you've been to cosplaying?
Rhode Island Comic Con.
What made that one kind of stand out?
First really big convention with my girlfriend. I did the whole I'm gonna cosplay every day like all the cosplayers do,
Oh
and
shit. Okay.
burned myself right out. It was
Yeah.
I lost 60 some pounds so I could cosplay Wolverine from X1. And here, I'm gonna tell you, you can cosplay whoever you want, no matter what way you look. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Just don't do
Hmm.
blackface, don't do brown
Right.
face or anything like that. Be yourself, but cosplay whoever the fuck you want. Don't let anybody tell you you're too big, too skinny, too built, not built enough. Do the thing.
Hmm.
I
Do the
just
thing.
wanted to feel comfortable to me in my photos and my outfits. And so I fucking hit the weights. I hit the speed bag. I dialed my diet in, which was, I, I just, I did the thing. And so I did Wolverine, got to meet DDP while I
Oh
was
shit.
there.
You felt the bang.
Dude, he gave me the diamond cutter.
Fuck
We
yeah.
had about 15 minutes of interaction there. He was a great guy. Story for a different time.
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes came, introduced. He
No
snuck up behind
way.
Paige, and I got to meet him.
Oh
Met
shit.
met Jason
Real.
David
That's.
Frank at that con. Got his autograph.
God damn. That's crazy. All of them.
Yeah, yeah. It was that was a great convention, and just had a really great time with my girlfriend, and my friends were there. That we all stayed. We shared a hotel room. It was just a really great convention. They seemed to give a shit about their people. I met Finn, who played Iron Fist. That trip, my girlfriend got to meet John DiMaggio and Elvira. They were both really sweet people.
I was gonna say, I know that I've heard she's very, very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great convention.
Cool.
And then I met the clique, the NWO themselves, because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall fucking steamrolled me coming around the corner and knocked me down, and then helped me up, and were like, dude, are you okay? I'm so sorry. And I was like, yeah, you're the fucking here, you sweet me, and
Right,
fucking
right.
got 2 sweets from them, and just
That's fucking great.
I'll never forget that, and that's where I met Hayden. So it was just
Damn,
it's
damn. That
tough
was
to top that.
all of that?
Yeah,
Rhode Island.
3 day, 4 day trip, 3 day convention. Yeah,
Damn, okay. And we can also confirm, you can probably help with this too, that Rhode Island, neither a road or an island, right?
correct. Yes, that is
Okay.
correct. Very small. From my hotel window, I could actually see the end of the state, and then if I were to knock on the door and go into the other person's room, I could see, Massachusetts or Connecticut. It's
Right.
very small. There's a lot of potato heads. It's a thing.
It's funny. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So as far as you kind of talked about it, I feel like you kind of touched point on about being warm in those cosplays. Is that one of those things you feel like that a lot of people that don't cosplay don't understand? Is that it's kind of exhausting really to do that? Because if I some of the people I also know that cosplay, like a lot of stop and go, people want this attention here too, but you get fucking warm as shit sometimes if you're
Yes.
kitted out like that, right?
If you do not take care of yourself, your body will take care of it for you, and it will drop you. I have seen people
Hmm.
pass out in costumes. I've seen people faint and smack their heads and get concussions to where their whole weekend
Damn.
was ruined because they didn't eat or drink water. Um, Ghost Rider was the first encounter in a convention where I learned real quick that I had to spend time to make sure I was properly hydrated and taking cooling breaks. When I got done with that convention, I went outside, unzipped, and it's my own fault too. full leather jacket, actual real chains, heavy duty chains, instead of like Halloween chains or something like that, which would have been smart. Wrapped around my body. So I was carrying around an extra like 45 pounds of weight on top of a leather jacket, a latex mask, which was tight to my neck, a foam flame collar, which came up like this. So I had a piece of foam material here with flames. I had made a fake diamond plate, like armor, kind of like gussied the character up for myself, combat boots, dark jeans, to look like I was a cyclist. And we were inside a convention in a hotel with a pool, so the temperature was up, the humidity was up, and I got outside, took my jacket off, and when it dropped on the ground, it made a splat noise, like a Nickelodeon comical noise. My shirt, my undershirt was so soaked that when I took it off, you could wring it out. Um, yeah, it
God
was
damn.
not good, and I was so woozy and lightheaded from that
I bet.
experience. And I just learned, like, gonna have to drink water, gonna have to monitor myself, keep an eye on these things, because if you don't, I've seen people get hurt. And just from then on, I
Mm-hmm.
learned, if I'm wearing a helmet, like I've done Kylo Ren, I've done Vader, if I'm wearing a helmet, make sure I take time to get away from people.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a cosplayer, people will tell you it's always when you're like, fucking, whew, I'm gonna sit down and eat, and then somebody comes up and goes, hey, can I get a picture with you?
Right.
You don't want to be like, no, but at the same time, you're like, and then you put on all the stuff again and you go. So like, I've taken bookings for events and appearances and stuff, and I always like contracts so that there's time for me to give myself a break. Like, I'm going to need 15 minutes here and there. I'm going to step away. I need a spot to go
Mm-hmm.
away and cool
Take that
down.
breather.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it does. It
Okay.
gets hot, and especially if you're wearing a lot and you put a lot of work, people want to show that off and they want to spend as much time in the thing. And you forget to hydrate, you forget to eat all day, you're not thinking right, you're kind of high on your friends being there and everything, and then all of a sudden, maybe normally you wouldn't trip over your own feet, you're very aware, and you've kind of gotten relaxed and loose, and you're thinking, man, I'm hungry, and you trip and fall and fucking, you don't want to fall through somebody's vendor table, you don't want to knock some little kid over. Like, there's a lot to it, and so it's always take
Mm-hmm.
care of yourselves.
Yeah, there you go. That's some great pro tips for anybody out there looking to get into cosplaying right there. So awesome. Last of kind of this role here. So as far as I know you've met some awesome people, it sounds like too. Who is probably the worst person that you met in like some sort of celebrity status at a con?
Worst that I met, I don't.
Yeah. I got one, like I got one for me, like it just like was not a
Oh,
great experience, but yeah.
not a great experience was Lou Ferrigno. Nice guy,
Really? Yeah, that surprises me.
overcharged for everything. Like, he had his price list on the table. I wanted to get my copy of I Love You Man signed. There's no photo. He didn't have any glossy 8x10s from I Love You Man on the table. It was all Incredible Hulk or King of Queens or
Right.
something like that. And I want to pay an $80 for this dude to fucking sign my copy of I Love You Man. And I was just like, never again. Whereas, like, if I'd brought my Incredible Hulk, he would have signed it for 50. Like, it didn't make sense. And it was just a very weird
Okay.
interaction and transaction. Nice guy. Just, it was bad experience.
Okay. No. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. I figured it was going to be like a wrestler or something like that because some of the more like not so great experiences for me like have been wrestlers. Some of the best experiences have been with wrestlers, but to me they're kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum for me and the people I've met in those situations at cons. So okay, okay. So sorry, Lou. Sorry to hear that. That's unfortunate.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. JDF on the other hand was one of the best ones. So truth be told, he was
Yeah.
always good to his people. So so as far as collecting, so um I know, of course, and I want to talk about world building here in a moment, but like collecting, are you a collector of like many different things? Or do you collect a lot of Star Wars stuff specifically? What does that look like for you?
Outside of toys, because I primarily collect Star Wars and Jurassic.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my two main lines. I collect stuff outside of toys,
Mm-hmm.
oddities, curiosities, books. Big art book collector. Tools. I like to collect old tools. Some of
Really?
them,
Like literally like old school like hand tools and shit?
yeah, yep. Some of them
Okay.
like I refurbish. Other ones I just leave them as is because it's not safe to use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, camping gear. I love trying out new stuff, trying to make my life a little easier when I go out camping or more fun.
Sure.
Um,
Name something that you would classify in that though, like like a food
oh,
making element, or
I've
what's
I've
that?
switched from if I'm camping solo, I'm a hammock guy now.
Okay.
I don't drag a tent out or anything like that. I have a hammock that weighs less than a pound. I throw it in my pack. I can go out if I got two trees. I got a place to sleep.
Mm,
Um, and they make them for big boys. They make them that can hold up to like 600-700 pounds because some people will like hang on the side of a mountain and pull up all their kit inside of the
mm.
hammock and all that. So I uh, I recommend that, but
Do you wear a banana hammock while you're in the hammock or no?
I freeball. I literally
Yeah, just let them go.
there's a slit that you get into from the bottom, and I just dangle my balls out of that.
Right. Perfect.
Just the
Okay.
balls, though.
Right. Yeah, you got to keep cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, little
That's
oddities,
interesting.
knickknacks, things like that. Movie props. I also collect film props.
Thought that that was one of the things. What's one of the coolest film like props that you own?
I have pieces of Matt Damon's stunt suit from Elysium.
You said it wrong. Matt
Matt
Damon.
Damon
Thank you.
from Matt Damon's suit in Elysium.
Okay.
I
That's cool.
have some money from Breaking Bad from the set when Bill Burr and oh, Jesus Christ, I forget the other actor's name. They open up the storage unit and all the money's there, and they just walk over and lay down on the money. I got it from someone who worked on the set with a COA. From Scrubs, I had some of the janitor bucks that janitor created.
That's cool.
Um, I've got a lot of oddball props from things, and then I'll also like if I can get a hey, that production used that thing to make that other thing. I'll go and track that down before the price gets super high because that happens with Star Wars all the fucking time.
Oh yeah.
As soon as the fans like after the episode drops, if you don't like get in on that order before they go sky high, they always go up. The flashlight from the episode of the Book of Boba Fett where it was primarily Mando.
Mm,
Um, the flashlight that he uses and sticks in his holster was a Harbor Freight flashlight that they just weathered up, took the label off the button, and people bought those out in droves from the stores. And I just happened to luck out and snag one and had one also. I forgot that I even had it. So just stuff like
that's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you have whether Star Wars or anything? Do you have any holy grails out there that you've always wanted to have in your collection, or do you have them? And what is that for you?
I've got grail pieces that are outside of my price range and outside of a lot of human beings who work to survive's price range.
Mm,
I'd love quite literally like any piece of something from a Star Wars production, I think would just be a fucking, I'd cherish it forever.
right.
Um, anything from Jurassic, like even if it was something pulled from one of the molds, like a production piece versus a set piece,
Hmm.
I'd be thrilled with that.
Right. Okay. That stuff's probably pretty crazy price wise. You've probably looked into that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. I belong to a couple of collectors groups on Facebook and on the prop replica forum where people have actual props and things like that, and just it's a money game. Some people will just buy props to sit and wait, and then they sell them kind of like shoot sneakerheads. You know, it's
Yeah.
that type of game. So it's not really for me, but when I can, I'll scoop something up, or if it's something that's really fascinating. Um, why are you wrong, Hove? What did he do to you, or did he
Yeah.
not give you a stunner?
I think he's told this story to me before as well too, and I don't recall offhand. Which seems crazy because everything I've ever heard is Steve's really nice.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, throw that in chat, Jay, because I'm curious to be reminded of that as well too.
he
Um,
would not say that's the bottom line. He refused.
right. Well, when I met him, the glass didn't shatter, and I was like, I don't know.
I didn't even know he was there.
Right,
I
right.
didn't hear the glass break, so I had no fucking clue.
Right. He just kind of surprised me a little bit. Um, when it comes to like collecting again, we kind of circle back to Star Wars here, and you said you kind of a little bit of a late bloom excuse me, let me get my words out. Late bloomer. And that was around the prequel time frame, correct? If I remember
Yeah,
what you said.
about 2 or 3 years
Okay.
before.
Did you start getting into action figures in that time frame, or like when those came out, those first few lines hit, were you getting those?
Now here comes the real story, the sad part. Grew up
Mm-hmm.
poor, destitute,
Mm-hmm.
really like homeless at times. So I did not have a lot of toys. So when I did, I held the fuck onto them for as long as I
Mm-hmm.
could. So that was like for me, that was the initial toy collecting, was just like me getting something that was mine to keep.
Yeah.
Was Ninja Turtles because they
Mm-hmm.
were popular 89
Mm-hmm.
and 90 when I lived in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and they were easy enough to get even though we were poor. Like we had just come from being homeless and sleeping in bank vestibules to being in a homeless shelter to moving into Section 8 housing. And so, you know, I started to be able to get or trade or, whatever action figures from other people in the neighborhood. They would have like almost like free stores for people that were in those programs, and they had toys for kids. So I would always, if there was a turtle or like one of their villains, I would try and scoop that up. And like those were things very much that I held on to. And then
Yeah.
when I moved back home, when my grandmother picked me up and moved me back to New York, all my turtle stuff got left there. They were like, your mother will bring it. And then she didn't. It was an abusive relationship. Her boyfriend was a big piece of shit. Um,
Mm.
Kept or gave away my stuff, never saw it again. But then I was, again, able to pick up turtles because they were you remember they were fucking everywhere. You
Everywhere.
couldn't go to a
Yeah.
pharmacy, grocery store.
Yep.
You walk outside sometimes there'd be a Ninja Turtle on your porch. You'd never know why. It
Yeah.
just
It just dropped from the sky. Yep.
it was a real
Mm-hmm.
pollution problem, and that's what the straws. They started using plastic straws to handle that, but then they
Mm-hmm.
got rid of that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It all comes back to the turtles, realistically. Then
yep.
at that point, turtles and straws. So when you started getting into like the Star Wars figures and stuff like that, and now of course your world building, everything that you do is kind of based around Star Wars in 1/18th scale. What is it for you about that scale that you find is like just the perfect sweet spot? Like, sell us all on that.
It is common. There is so much more room for activities.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I initially was like, I'm going to world build in 112 Star Wars because they seem to be getting a lot more stuff in Black Series. And I had gotten rid of probably like 99% of my 118 Star Wars by that point. Um, and it was so big, and it was just like tough because it's like, okay, you've got a 6-inch action figure, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you've measured your toy. Anyway,
Yeah,
you got a 6-inch
that's
action
where you
figure.
have. Yeah, you have to make sure it's the right
Yeah.
size.
And then
Yeah, yeah.
your doors right around 8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got to put your building, so your ceiling height is probably what, 8 feet,
Mm-hmm.
9 feet. So it just became more and more on a grander scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't having so much fun. And I was like, man, I fucking missed the other figures. Like they were that size. And so what I did was I went to my favorite toy store, Toying Around in Johnstown, New York. If you're ever in the neighborhood, go check them out. Vin runs an amazing toy store. Uh, I brought all my stuff in. I said, whatever you'll offer me for store credit, let's do it. He gave me a number. I turned around and used it for store credit, and I walked out of there with 2 big bags of fucking 118 figures, and I was like, it is on like Donkey Kong, and I have not looked back since.
Okay.
It's scale, it's availability, and
Mm-hmm.
it's there's ships.
Yeah, the ships is the big thing. Yeah,
It's tough to get a 112 scale ship that's
it
not two
is.
$300.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or just massive in general. Like it takes up a table, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, that
Which I
makes
mean, now
sense.
we can do with 3D printing and things like that for 118 scale, but
Right.
it still stands that like I can have 3 or 4 fighter ships instead of just one
Mm-hmm.
in that scale.
Yeah, yeah. That is still like, even though I don't fully, now I've kind of switched my world building with to 112. Some of my collectible side of it that I love in Star Wars is definitely creatures, but like are like especially Imperial ships. Like I love the vehicles of Star Wars. It's always been one of my draw to them in general. So it is nice to be able to have a lot of those because they, you can have a lot. They don't take a lot of space. But so for you, like when you kind of, and this is a perfect segue to get into the world building. So when did you start like the world building process? Was that right about then? Like how many years back, or what did that look like
I
to you? I mean, was
I
that
had
before all this or again, not internet, but World Makers Consortium stuff?
way before that.
Okay.
When I was younger, I had built a Tatooine. We'll call it Tatooine. It was a Sandy City type diorama right there on that wall. This was my childhood bedroom, and I had 2 or 3 levels, and the main level was a really deep piece of wood, and it was painted up, and I painted the back wall, and I had like doors and things like that, and it was like that was my first foray into world building, and I had made a couple of foam board like bunkers for my clone troopers, things of that nature. But I had been, world building, making set pieces on and off. I did a lot of customizing back before I got rid of all my 118 scale stuff. I had been making custom figures for people. Somebody
Okay.
wanted a stormtrooper that looked like them. I'd do that. They wanted a Mandalorian. If I had the pieces or they'd get me the pieces, I would do that. And it was that type of thing. But again, I just got out of during COVID is when I was like trying to do the 1/6 scale or 1/12 scale. And I was getting, the Foosh ninjas that were out and things like that. And I was army building and getting things ready. I'm just like, God damn, they're taking up so much space. And just like
Hmm.
the buildings that I have to build for these things are not realistic for me. And I want to be able to do more and use more of my space in a better way. And
Right.
like I said, I just took that stuff, went in, traded it in. I was like, offer me store credit. I'll take what you got, and haven't looked back.
That was it. Okay. Okay. So that was right around COVID. So really, only 5, 6 years ago is when you kind of made that switch into this. Okay. Um, Before we continue, I do want to just kind of highlight here. So, that's a good question. I did not ask that when we were talking about that, but what is your favorite horror movie? Good question, Jay.
Night of the Living Dead.
Okay. Bingo. There you go.
Yeah, it could be sunny daytime. That movie's on. I'm still like
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
Yeah. That's
scary.
great. So apparently this is what happened with Stone Cold Steve Austin, that he cussed out his 8-year-old brother when he asked for an autograph, and we got backstage in 2002. It was very shortly before he, it moved, walked out of WWE for a couple years. So maybe he was disgruntled, but yeah, okay. That's probably traumatizing for a kid, so I can kind of
Did,
understand
did
that, I
Vince put you
suppose.
up to this, you son of a bitch?
Right, right, right. It was me all along, Austin. Me all along. So
God
there you
damn it,
go.
Al! You really yelled at that kid, huh?
Oh shit. So as far as like the customizing side of it, so it sounds like you've literally been doing that since a kid. Were you painting back then as well too? Like, did you always just kind of painting, huh? I
Uh,
mean,
I
I know you're obviously a big fan of art. You've talked about that, but so
my
painting.
my first customizing a figure, probably like taking weapons off of Ninja Turtles and swapping it over to other characters. But like,
Mhm.
I remember I had a Colossus X-Man figure, and for whatever reason, I took a black Sharpie and like wanted to change the way his metallic bands looked or something. And I spent all that time doing that, and I was like, yeah, all right, cool, got that out of the way. And then I just wanted to do more. And of course, like the first rookie mistake I did was I got enamel paint
Oh
for my
yeah, shit.
toys, and it's especially dinosaurs. That's the wrong type of paint to use on that plastic. Learned that the hard way. Shit was sticky for years. Couldn't figure out why. Then the internet. I started reading. I was like, oh, duh. But yeah, I've
Right.
always been like into to changing my figures to suit me better
Hmm.
or suit
Hmm.
what my imagination has. Um, it's one of those things where it's like I feel like I have a really good imagination. It's not as good as it was when I was a child.
Right.
I'll say that. You grow up, life grinds a lot out of you. You lose some of that magic, but I still think I've got a pretty good imagination. But if you give me a physical thing, I can build off of that and come up with a million ideas. Sometimes it's just like pulling that original thought and getting it to that very base layer
Yeah.
is a lot like work for me. Whereas the
Okay.
creation, the weathering and painting is like where I really, really enjoy. Hey, we got raided.
I see that.
Do I have
Rated.
to? Do I
Rated.
have to like hide the women and children? Like, how's this
Yeah.
work? Do we fight?
We have to probably get more naked than we already are below the waist. So
I
somehow,
did
yeah.
say I did say I would undo another
That's
button.
true. That's true.
There you go. Look at that.
Come on, bring those tips.
Absolutely.
Throw those dollars out, throw the dollars out. So, when did you realize acrylic was what you had to switch to? Is that like later, or how did that work for you?
Was this? It was the summer of Jurassic Park 3.
Okay,
I
okay,
could not figure out why these goddamn plastic dinosaurs that I had put paint on were still sticky.
yeah,
And I was on a forum, and I had been collecting Jurassic Park. I was an admin on jptoys.com, which is Universal and Amblin still use them for reference work for their books when they talk about old toys and designs.
that's great.
This was the
That's wild.
place, and just for whatever reason, it had not fucking clicked with me. And then I was reading, maybe it was Crash McCreary, who was one of the concept artists for
Yep.
Stan Winston Studios for Jurassic or something, talking about when they were painting something and mentioned to use acrylic as a base coat on certain types of plastic. And I looked at the box and it was that type of plastic, and I was like, oh, fucking duh. And just from
Mhm.
there, it took off. And I don't like enamels. I don't like the flow. Enamel does have its place on like metal things and things that are like
Mhm.
really going to be high impact and stuff. Most of what I make, I'm real good at protecting the finish, so I don't need enamels. Acrylic is where I like to, that's my medium
That's your medium. Okay.
or my
Okay.
extra large.
I'm in the husky right now. But so as far as painting in general, I know, we call you Big Daddy Dry Brush. I mean, that's probably a little self-titled, but it works perfectly.
I didn't give myself that nickname.
You didn't? Okay.
That was bestowed upon me
Bestowed.
by the
Okay.
viewership.
Okay. Okay. So there you go. It's a badge of honor then.
Yes.
What explain to anybody that may not know what dry brushing is and how does that look with the kind of work that you do?
Dry brushing is when you take your expensive paints, your expensive model paints, and you put them on your paintbrush, and then you use a paper towel that you're going to throw away to take most of it off. You're putting the barest amount of pigment that you possibly can in the paintbrush, and brushing over it so you're just hitting the high points. And you do that over and over again until you get your layering up. And what that allows is for you to sneak up on I I could do a Vince McMahon impression for a long time. I'm not proud of that fact, especially now. But back to the dry brushing. What it allows me to do and allows other people to do is to sneak up on your color density. It allows you to get your color to where you want it.
Hmm.
And because you're dry brushing, you're putting so little paint on there that you don't have to worry about smearing it off. You're not worried about having to wait dry time in between. You could build up your layers and go. And for me, that's the aesthetic that I like to achieve with my painting. It looks to me, especially at that scale, more realistic because if you look at weathered items,
Hmm.
it does have that appearance in just real life. And it's a great way to like approach that weathering and painting in a fast way. And it's, not so expensive. And I can airbrush. I've been known to airbrush in my day. I can do rattle cans. I can paint really nice solid colors with smooth surface finishes. I was in production aerospace. I painted aircraft parts. Excuse me, I've spray painted enamel finishes so smooth you could literally reflect the sun back at the fucking sun from it without any interruption. But dry brushing is where I
Hmm.
seem to excel, and that's where I
Hmm.
find my happy place.
Yeah, yeah, you do a really, really good job. There's a
Thank you.
few of you that I, of course, satellite with, and you guys do some awesome, awesome paint work as well. A lot of people in the community does do too, but you definitely do an amazing job. But what I also like about what you do too is, because I'm gonna have you promo that as we wind down here in a little bit. But when you do your paint streams, like you're literally going through and explaining the steps with almost everything you do, which in that kind of environment when you're doing that kind of work and showcasing your ability, but you're also passing that knowledge on too, and I love that you do that. So
I
um
I don't like paywalling art in that way,
mhm,
um, especially since most of what I've learned has come from somebody saying, "Here's how I do it. I learned it this way from so and so.
mhm,
They told me they learned it from this." Far be it for me to say to you, "No, I'm not going to tell you unless you give me money."
mhm,
Especially when it's something as, and this is not a knock on the hobby or anything, but it's something as juvenile or silly as painting toys or painting a prop for a convention.
Perfect. Perfect. I love
There's
that.
no reason for that. And the other thing is when I narrate and tell what I'm doing, half of that's to remind myself of what the fuck I'm doing as I'm doing it.
Right, right. And but it's also engaging, right? You
Yeah.
you usually got a great chat that's going on, and like a lot of the people that are here,
Yeah.
we love making sure to pop in there and clown a little bit and listen to you go. So, um, when it comes to painting in general, is there maybe one thing that you could share that you feel like is a pro tip for anybody that either wants to get into it or even still doing it now, that you feel like this is the best thing that you could just think about or do when you're painting?
When you're painting, if you don't like what you're doing, you can always paint over it.
There you go. Booyah.
It's it may say permanent on the container, but it is not permanent. You can always correct it. You can always sand it down. You can always use a solvent. You can always paint over it. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't look like you want it to at that second.
Mm-hmm.
There have been plenty of times on live stream, and I'll never hide that from anybody, where I'll sit back and look at something and go, I'm not really happy with this. I'm going to sit and I'm going to come back and repaint that at another time. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to do that. And some people, they don't, they struggle with that. And I get it. I'm sure at some point there was a time where I'd just be like, man, F this. I can swear on the internet. Fuck this. And I throw something on the bench and
Right,
leave it
right.
and whatever. But I just, you can come back to it. It's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. It's a hobby. It's not supposed to be critical, like you build the skills by doing it over and over and over again. And I still make mistakes. People tell me all the time. And it's, maybe it's the self-deprecation humor and that self-defense thing, but like, I don't believe I'm as good as a painter as other people tell me I am. But at the same time, it took me years of being a way worse painter than I am now to get where I am. So it's okay to fail. It's okay to have to go back and redo it, because guess what? You learn through failure.
Yeah. 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 That's great. 100%. 100% agree. Um, that's very Yoda-esque in my opinion too. Um, one of the things that you do that I really find engaging is, and a lot of people in building do these sort of things. They take everyday items and turn them into something, and you wouldn't realize it's a something, and until you say, yeah, this was this, and you're like, holy shit, really? You're really good at that. I feel like you
Thank you.
find a lot of like things in the world for very cost effective. You're very smart about like how you're spending your pennies as well too, which I think is great, and you share that as well, which is also great. What is it about like things like that you feel like that you just kind of see more than other people? Maybe is like you look at something just that's used as everyday item for something, but you're like, that it could be perfect if I paint this and do this for this.
It's twofold. And that's a great question, is where that comes from, where that my thought process is like, you do not have to break your goddamn bank to world
Mm-hmm.
build.
Right.
And I'm strictly talking about just making your dioramas, making your displays for your toys. You do not have to break the bank. Part of that comes from being poor. Growing up destitute is you learn to see things for what they could be, or as a thing to fix whatever issue you have. The second is, there is so much waste on this planet. We buy plastic toys. Like, I am not unaware that I do not need plastic toys. I facilitate things going into landfills. But I am also not a billionaire company that's dumping black water waste into public waterways and claiming that people using straws is the problem. But I know that around your house and around most of our houses, we have a cereal box that's going to be empty soon. That, guess what? That can be doors. You can make 20 things out of that cereal box.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I share that with somebody? Why wouldn't I be like, hey, if you want to do this thing that I'm doing and I'm over here narrating, whether I'm teaching or whatever, fucking go get your Cheerios, leave the bag in the closet with the clip on it, and bring the box in.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut the box up. Most people have scissors, and you can cut it with scissors. Like, I don't see the necessity for things to be expensive without intention. And also, the things that I love, movies, set design, artists, if you go back and look at the bullshit junk to this day that they use for props in movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Reddit subreddit called r/it's a booklight. And it's all these like real things that are repurposed as props that people find. And it's like, oh, that computer thing that they push buttons was just a fidget spinner that you can get at like Cumberland Farms gas stations. And it was just a little popple thing that they glued to the board so that when somebody pushed the button, it went in. Like, there's so much opportunity there across all mediums of art. There are artists who never painted with a brush because they didn't have a brush. They had a spatula, though, that they got from their dad from his bucket of tools because he used to do drywall. And while he was working at the factory, they had red clay outside and decided that they would water down that clay and make it into paintings. And that's how they do. That's their medium is red clay water and a drywall palette. Things don't always have to be derivative, but you can look at things, and at least I can look at things and go, well, geez, there's that wood sitting out in front of that dumpster from that construction site where they're all done with it, and no one's going to take that. It's going to get taken away and thrown in a landfill or ground up and, whatever. Why don't I take that home? They're getting rid of that table and I need a replacement table over here. Let me go scoop that up. Like, things don't need to cost. They don't need to be expensive, especially for art. And that's it. It's a necessity. Right. And also, we could do a little bit better. And your hobby, parts of your hobby don't have to be expensive. Goddamn, I'll admit, I've spent some money on toys, but when it comes to like the world building and stuff, there's no reason that the wall or the floor or even the trim on the vehicle has to be something expensive. Doesn't need to be.
You do such an amazing job with taking, like I said, things like that. Like, I know there's been a couple streams where I've watched you paint something and I'm like, you're like, well, it's this from this, and this is what I did. And then you put it in the world. And it's like, holy shit. Like, that's fucking kind of crazy to think like that. That's great. And I think that's a good way to kind of encompass that for everybody too. And with a little message as well. So tips the hats to you, or whatever they say. What is that? Tip the hat? No, I don't know. Yeah, mine's backwards. There you go. Thank you.
You can tip it.
Yeah, I know. Right. So as far as kind of lastly here, when it comes to your world, which is called Gimmick, correct?
Yes, Gimmick Starport. Yeah,
Gimmick Starport. If you had a postcard or a flyer for Gimmick, what would you say what would that say to attract new visitors to that port?
Come to Gimmick, where everybody plays a part.
Okay. Tell me, I love that. Tell me a little bit about what was the brainchild, kind of either for Gimmick in general, maybe the name, or just kind of your vision for it.
The brainchild was like, I had seen Empire Toy Works. I had been reading and looking at like Chewy on Yak Face, his diorama stories. There was a guy named Owen Driscoll who was always building play sets and things like that for people. And I just wanted a world for my figures to live in. And like I said, I had been building little shelves and whatnot. I'm a big fan of Firefly and Blade Runner. I'd honestly think that Firefly is my biggest inspiration for the locale of Gimmick Starport. And I just wanted a place that seemed real and world lived in. And every character is because it did start as a mental health project to just like help keep me sane during COVID. Like, we were locked down for good reason. And then, whether you agreed with it or not, it was a tough time for everybody. Some people can get through it without having temper tantrums and other people can't. But it became that, and Gimmick was from pro wrestling and toys. Like, toys had a gimmick. The wrestlers always talked about their merchandise. So they had this gimmick over there you can get with a shirt and blah, blah, blah. And it just stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, that actually does make sense that every, toys have their gimmicks and everybody has their little part here. And so I've used that before. I actually think I have a wallpaper up on my Ko-Fi that looks like a postcard that says that, come to Gimmick where everybody plays a part. And that's what it's been.
Awesome. I love that. Excellent. And, honestly, if you ever, and he's going to talk about it here in a little bit, but if you get some time on a Tuesday when he's streaming, you got to pop in and check it out and see the progress of the work as well, too. And you probably learn something as well.
I can't promise that the shirt will be as low cut. Right.
But
once for the right price,
right price, everything has a price. So that's me getting ready to steer to into port as always. With all the big questions about you, and want to run you through kind of the let's set the tone gauntlet stuff here. So, um, we'll kind of bring it home, everybody. I appreciate everybody that are still able to hang in right now as well, or if you're checking this out in
Happy
post, I
Valentine's Day,
appreciate you. And
babes.
happy, I was going to say that earlier, completely forgot. I completely derailed myself with not doing the intro and just going live, which was really smooth. So, but yeah, as I planned on just saying, is happy Valentine's Day to you all if you are a fan of it, I suppose. So, but what about music for you? Name a band that defines you. Is there somebody like, or even a musician, somebody out there that's like, that's where my heart and soul's at.
Pearl Jam or the Midnight
Okay.
at any given point.
Okay. Pearl Jam. What's your favorite Pearl Jam song?
Release.
Okay. What album is that on? I'm trying to remember.
I think Release was on Yield.
Okay. Are you a big Vitalogy fan?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that album. There's a trapdoor in the sun.
I do think that I think that they're self-titled the Avocado album, as people call it, because they don't like to call it Pearl Jam. I think that album doesn't get enough love.
Okay.
Um,
Right on. Yeah, you grew up a big Pearl Jam fan. Did you ever see him live?
no.
Yeah.
They lost the fight with Ticketmaster, and I can't
I
afford
know.
$500 to fucking sit in the nosebleed sections. I can't, Eddie Vedder. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's why I always have respect for him, though. They were one of the forerunners of that fighting Ticketmaster, taking the fight to him. Jehovah's got a question out here. We're going to throw it in the middle of the gauntlet here too. Have you checked out the Operation Monster Force figures yet?
I sure have, and they're 1/12 scale and not in my range. Now, if anybody wants to donate one of the Robo Sapien soldier head sculpts that looks like a Doombot to Famine, so I can shrink cast it, I'll
There
send
you
it
go.
back to you once I've shrunk cast it. That looks like a Doombot.
Looks like a Doombot. Yeah, it does. You may have said it earlier, or at least you said something about short story or maybe or whatever it might be. But as a big book reader, can you name your favorite book that you've ever read?
Yeah, Jurassic Park.
I guess fuck. I guess I should have fucking known that one. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Runner
Name
up.
a couple more. Yeah.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
runner up.
Yeah.
Lamb, the Gospel of Christ according to Christ's child's Lamb, the Gospel according to Christ's childhood pal Biff.
Okay.
Not religious. It is one of the most funny and thoughtful books I've ever read.
Okay.
And it's by Chuck Palahniuk. Phenomenal.
Great. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. What controversial hot take? What is a controversial hot take that you have that that you're one of the few, if only, people that just feels this way about something? Maybe you're even self-aware on it. You're gonna die on this hill and argue it till you turn blue, no matter what, no matter if it's you versus 100 million people.
Boy, howdy. If you think that your hobby isn't political, it's political. No matter what.
There you go.
I mean, unless your hobby is fucking politics, then I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of already on the
Yeah.
nose, right?
But, people that are crying right now because the toy community is starting to use artistic expression, which art has always and will always be political in it. There are a lot of people who are crying and stomping their feet going, wah, I wanted my Star Wars / G.I. Joe / fucking whatever toy stuff to not be political. Well, guess what? Those tariffs are political. The lack of products are political. Every time you complain that the price goes up and your wage does not go up in your story on Instagram, it is political. You can cry and kick your feet all you want, buddy, but the hobby's here. And if you can't get the 2 and 2 together that your favorite sci-fi franchise is 99% the rebellion against the bad empire, and you can't figure out which is which, you're probably not that bright, and it's already fucking political, so you can't hide from it.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Right on. Right on. I had a feeling.
Just a little feeling.
I had a little feeling.
I'm only a little outspoken. I'm only a little.
Right. That's what
it's like Shawn Michaels. Just they said I'm not controversial. What's your name? Stan. And then I'm gonna kick Stan.
Yep. What's your favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Of all time.
And if you need to do a top three, because that's tough too for me even as well. So I get it.
Oh, top three: Kenny Omega, Dusty Rhodes, The Rock.
Okay, right on, right on. That's a pretty solid fucking list. Kenny Omega is a little surprising. That doesn't come up too often, honestly. But I know you also, as compared to, I will be that guy, and I'm going to say right now, there's two people in the world. There's WWE fans, and there's also pro wrestling fans. So I'm also not surprised by that because I know you're also aware of there's a lot of things outside the WWE bubble. So
Mm.
right on, right on. Do you think that he's going to get the belt in this last ride that he's kind of doing here? You think he's going to get it one more
I
time
don't think
now?
it's his. I don't think it's his last ride, and I don't think he's going to get the belt. No,
Okay,
I think that
I'm pulling for Brody right now hard.
I think Brody or Andrade would be a smart move right now. But also Max is he's a big star right now, like a genuine, true Hollywood star at the ripe young age of his birthday was yesterday or something like that. He's 30, just turned 30.
Did he? Okay, I thought he was still in
Yeah,
his late 20s. Okay, damn, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
he,
I
like
go ahead.
movies, TV shows,
Yeah,
carrying the championship, wrestling, and going to work on set and coming back. Like, dude puts in the work, and he's a noticeable household name now. And I think that he keeping it on him wouldn't be a bad business decision. But at the same time, man, lightning in a bottle. You have to
yeah.
sometimes in wrestling, you have to grab that lightning in the bottle, which is
That's
why LA Knight is not in the title picture because WWE doesn't know how to learn.
that that drives me so much fucking nuts too. I think he's I love LA Knight. That's all I'll say on that one. And what I say to you about the MGF thing, and I know this is probably the reason why you also appreciate him, and I know people go back and forth about it, but I still appreciate people that do try to at least recognize kayfabe, and that man is in character 100% of the time, and I love that about him. And I,
I'll bounce into my top three real quick to swing back? Eddie
yeah,
Kingston, because Eddie Kingston is one of the few people
mhm,
who they never told wrestling was fake.
yeah,
I truly believe nobody in the locker room
right,
tell Eddie
right, right,
Kingston
right, right.
that wrestling isn't real.
Yeah, man, that dude is raw, and I appreciate that too. Um, I know that this week MJF was on CVV again, Chris Van Vliet.
Yes,
I have
was a great interview.
I hope to get some time to to watch that this weekend because even the clip I saw, he's like, "You're doing great for yourself, kid." He's like, "We've actually met before." He's like, no, we
No,
haven't. I'm like, "Oh my fucking god!" This is how that clip it alone was. I was like, "Oh shit, this is great." But I really, 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 I've loved Brody King since the first time I've laid eyes onto him. But I think he's taken. I'm sorry, but I do love that man. For many, many reasons, and I think that like you said, lightning in a bottle. I think he needs to get that. You got to strap him up. He's white hot right now. You got to strap him up. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they do. But if MGF keeps it on there and it's just a good run to get more eyes on Brody, then I get it as well too. My favorite wrestler in AEW though is still and will always be Swerve right now. I love Swerve Strickland. I fucking love
whose
everything.
house?
Swerve's house.
Sometimes it's Storm's house. Every once in a while, I'll do that, and he,
Yeah, there he is. There he is. It is Storm's
big
house.
man's.
Yep, yep. All right, last big question here. So, it's last day on Earth because you just found out that the asteroid is going to smash into the world tomorrow because once again, as always, unfortunately, Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck did not stop it from coming to Earth to crash and create Armageddon for us. So, you get to choose 5 meal items and 2 drinks. What does your last meal look like?
Hmm. Start out with some jalapeno poppers.
Oh, fuck yeah. Bacon with them or no?
No, just the
Okay.
cheese jalapeno poppers too. Don't
Cheese.
fucking miss me with the cream cheese. That was a late addition to the jalapeno popper game.
Right.
Give me the cheddar.
Yeah, I'm the
Um,
same. I like both, but I prefer the cheddar too. So,
yeah, give me cheddar jalapeno poppers. A nice French onion soup.
a man of culture.
A good fresh made Caesar salad.
Oh God, you're speaking right here to the heart.
I think a sushi entree.
Mm.
And then for dessert, my grandmother used to make it's easy to make, and I've just never done it. It's a dirt pudding, and she
Oh
even
fuck
had
yeah.
she had a designated flower pot and a designated garden trowel and a flour, and she would make it. It's layered chocolate pudding, crushed up Oreos, the Oreo filling, and you make it
Uh,
look like a layer of dirt, and she'd crumble up the Oreos on top, put the flour in, and she would serve it with the trowel. And it was just one of those like desserts that's super nostalgic and
That's
gets
great.
right there. And
Yeah.
for drinks, um, surprisingly, would be probably a Captain and Diet and Lime, just
Okay.
because that was like my go-to cocktail. And
Mm.
then
Classic, man. It's classic. Never gets
maybe
old.
just a nice ice cold grapefruit seltzer.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's a lot of things on there that I also do love too. So no, that's fantastic. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you first of all so much for being on
Thanks,
here.
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I kind of said, when I first came into the WMC community through Zilla and met Rad Course first, and instantly just like gravitated towards him, and then being on the show and stuff like that, and getting to know some of y'all. I feel like it was always kind of weird at first, like who the fuck is this clown, right? But I knew right away, just from some of your humor and your jokes, and again all the pop culture references. I'm like, this dude fucking gets it. Famine's a funny guy over here. So I definitely enjoy that a lot. Again, the jokes sometimes that I
If
might
you
only
can't
pick up
be
on
handsome,
too.
be funny. And fortunately for me, I can fucking do both. So
Fucking beautiful, right? But I appreciate your mindset on many things, as you know too. I think you've got a lot of you look and seeing things a lot of the same ways that I do, and I always appreciate that too. Again, a lot of things that I feel like that we have a lot in common, and that's it's always awesome this late in life to find people like that as well too. And a lot of the people
man,
that I continue to
cowboy
have on
butts
here.
drive me nuts, and I know they do for you too. So it's
That's right. Something about a tight denim. I don't know what it is. Well, I do know
and
what it
man,
is.
Adam Page, man, he fucking hits that buckshot lariat. Ooh,
Dude, when that kicks, man, when that kicks, when that song kicks. But also, of course, to make sure I say it, since Storm just popped in, your love for kitties as well too, because we're a big kitty home here too. I'm a big animal lover. I have a bleeding heart for animals in general, but
you
definitely
can tell a
especially
lot
when it comes
about
to
a human
kitties.
being by how they treat animals, and
Absolutely,
that's the truth.
100% on that too. So, but that all being said, of course, I before I get you to promo yourself, like you mentioned cryptoids and stuff like that. I got a couple of friends that are also into that stuff, and we've always kind of bounced around doing like a one of these round tables that I once in a while do. Is that something you'd ever want to jump in and get into some cryptoid talk?
Absolutely, I've done. I was doing a test series over the summer, last summer, cryptids and crafting that I was doing there. But
Oh
I'd
shit.
absolutely love that. I will
Okay.
talk about cryptids, ghost, aliens, fucking.
Okay. Perfect. I got some people that in my time around here that also love that shit, and they want to. We've talked about that, so I'm more of the skeptic. I'm more of the science guy, so it's a tough one for me. But I think it's always good again to have that kind of person in those kind of talks. So yeah, that'd be fun. I know Britt's also a big fan of a lot of this stuff too, so it should be a good one to get her involved too. But that being said, promo yourself and your content. Where can everybody find you? I'm gonna have all that stuff, of course, in the description eventually. I mean, your coffee, or everybody feels like everybody calls it either one. But where can you find everybody?
You can find me here on YouTube, Famine Studios. You can check it out. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the little notification bell. It works sometimes, I'm told. If you like this sort of science fiction slash fun content, I do a lot of world building, toy customizing. I'm going to start adding in a little bit more of one-to-one scale prop replicas as I start to make things
Oh,
for my
sweet.
sci-fi bar. You could check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Famine Studios X. There's a free tier. I don't often paywall a lot of things, but it's a great way to help support the channel, especially since YouTube changes the algorithm so much that the monetary gain from people that are creating content for their platform is less and
Hmm.
less. Also on Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/Famine Studios X. I'm over there. If you want to buy me a coffee or an adult beverage or, 17, that's fine. And usually I do take the Ko-Fi donations, and I buy treats for the cats because they're really the stars of the show in my live streams. And I'm
Okay.
convinced that people tune in more for them than me, which is fine. I mean, I get it, but
Right.
that's where you can find me. And also co-host over on World Makers Consortium every Friday over on Rad Toys Galaxy on YouTube, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We do it big.
Yeah, you definitely
See,
do. It is definitely
mention
a
the cat,
highlight of
and
my
he's like,
week.
"Let me get in this
Yeah,
here.
he's like, yeah, Storm's like, yeah, what's up? What's going
Let
on
me
here?
generate some revenue for you, Pop."
Yeah, right. Yeah, I appreciate you too, Thane. Yeah, it was a great conversation for sure. And as far as for myself here, again, sorry about the intro. I just decided to we realized time, and I feel like I went and hit the live, and I knew I was gonna hit the intro. I don't know, so cold open, right? We're gonna go with that, and I can fumble for a little bit, but as we all know, that's how it works around here because we thrive in chaos. But I do appreciate the chat as always. You guys have been fucking killing it the last few of these. Great conversations. I can't highlight all of it, because I want to make sure that Famine can get everything out that he needs to as well. But I really appreciate you guys' back and forth, and of course, the banter is well appreciated too. So if this is your first time here, or if you're whatever it might look like, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that like, and if you're catching this on the replay, of course, comment, share this, whatever that looks like. We appreciate those things. We just hit 700 on this channel, me and Brent. He's been putting the grind in as well, doing his game streams. So we really appreciate that grind. It's always a slow grind. But we excited to hit 700 followers here on YouTube. So thank you so much for that. It's really important to us. But for him, he's been doing a lot of game streams the last few weeks. He's been doing some great content, doing some demos. Him and Tricky earlier today, highlighted a new game that popped out as well too. Reanimal, I believe it was. Looked pretty awesome. Make sure to check those out. Those are pretty fun. And then this coming week, Thursday, the 19th, you'll be able to catch me and Jehovah on Seven Dungeons channel for the next episode of Dungeon Banter. And we're talking pirate fantasy. But not only are we talking pirate fantasy, we're going to have Corsair Creations on, and they got a Kickstarter coming on May 1st for their pirate figure line. So we're really excited to have them on, talk about that, promote that. They were on Toy Mercs 2 episodes ago. Can't wait to get in them in the studio and be able to chat with them as well. I think that's going to be a fun talk, and who doesn't love pirates, right? Maybe I'll talk in pirate talk a little bit too. We'll see. And then of course next Saturday, another World Makers Consortium member, Abby. Abby will be here, and I can't wait to talk to her as well too. And then we'll just have to get Fu in here, and I'll have all of the WMC taken care of. But be
Like
here
the
next week.
goddamn Pokemon.
Right, exactly. But be here next week for Abby Normally Customs. She's going to, be in the hot seat next, and I can't wait to be able to do that. This was fun today, and it'll be fun next week as well. And then, of course, every Monday, check me out on Instagram and the YouTube Shorts here for just general small updates and blurbs throughout the week you can expect from me too, and just get my face in front of you and get a little dose of tone. So, but as always, appreciate everybody for being able to pop in here, hang out, and chit chat. But more importantly, again, thank you so much, Famine, for doing this for me.
Thank you, Tone.
It's been fun, and again, I love your content, everything that you do, and just being able to be in your satellite has been really fun too. So I really appreciate you. So everybody, I hope you have a great Valentine's Day. I hope you have a great Saturday, and we will most definitely see you real soon. Take care, everybody.